Therefore, Zhang Dainyu took a deep breath and condensed all the genuine auras in his body into his palms. Then, he rushed towards Ithagata. He knew that the ultimate move of Ithagata Geto would take a period of time to condense his true strength. He had learned from Lei Hu the principle of striking first to gain the upper hand. Therefore, Zhang Dainyu planned to end this battle before Ithagata Geto was ready. However, when Zhang Dainyu rushed to Izago Geto's front, Izago Geto had just finished condensing the genuine aura. The two palms at his waist simultaneously struck back at Zhang Dainyu, like two suddenly unsheathed Damascus sabers. The force from Isagadol's palms was so powerful that it bounced Zhang Dainya's left fist away. Isagadol's left palm was like a sharp blade, and Isagadol's left palm was like a sharp blade. It cut through Zhang Dainya's waist like a sharp blade, leaving a deep scar on Zhang Dainya's left upper body that was so deep that his bones could be seen. Because Zhang Dainyu had gathered all the genuine auras on his fists, the protective genuine auras on his body were very thin and could not block Issa Geto's fierce energy at all. With a light sound of Pucci, hot blood splashed out from Zhang Dainya's huge wound. Zhang Dainya's other fist was unable to hit Ithagdar, but it was blocked by Ithagdar's left arm. His face was covered with blood from Zhang Dainya's wound. Looking at the shocking wound on Zhang Dainya's upper body, Izago Geto took a deep breath and said in an unfamiliar Mandarin, "I won." If Zhang Dainya's body was not much tougher than an ordinary person's, and Ithagdar had used up most of his strength in the previous battle, that strike would have pierced through Zhang Dainya's heart. However, although Zhang Dainya's face was terrifyingly pale, he wasn't discouraged at all. Instead, he smiled foolishly and said, "No, I should have won." Ithagdar frowned. He thought that Zhang Dainyu was delirious because his two fists did not hit him. At this moment, Isa Geto's body trembled. Then, his body emitted a crisp, crackling sound that sounded like beans being fried. Isa Geto's face revealed a look of disbelief. His lips moved, but he was unable to say anything. The feeling just now was as if a bomb had exploded within his body. Then, under the baffled gazes of the audience, Isa Geto fell backwards. His eyes rolled back and he fainted. Blood continuously flowed out from his mouth and nose. However, Ithagdar was only seriously injured. Zhang Dainyu did not take his life. When the judges determined that Ithagdar had completely lost his ability to fight, and that Zhang Dainyu had won, Zhang Dainyu smiled weakly and said, "Hee, I have finally mastered the move of beating the bull across the mountain." After saying that, he closed his eyes and fell straight to the ground. The specialized medical staff outside also rushed in to give Zhang Dainyu and Isagador emergency treatment, and then carried them down on a stretcher. Lei Hu, who had already regarded Zhang Dainyu as his younger brother, immediately ran to the backstage to see him. Zhou Hao knew that although Zhang Dainyu was seriously injured, his life was not in danger. He could recover after resting for a while. Moreover, he would only hinder the treatment of the medical staff if he went there now. He might as well use his inner energy and Chinese medicine to help Zhang Dainyu recover when he returned. Dinyo really won miserably this time. However, after this battle, his martial arts can advance by another large step. Zhou Hao said, however, he won't be able to fight in the next finals. It's a pity. Zhao Yuqin, who was standing beside him, said, "Dinyo is already injured to such an extent. Why do you expect him to participate in the competition?" Zhou Hao smiled bitterly. Because that Mohandas is a rare opponent for Dinyo. As he was speaking, Mohandas and his opponent had already gone up the stage to prepare for the upcoming competition. The reason why Zhou Hao didn't go and see Zhang Dainyu was not only because he wanted to see Mohandas, but also because he was curious about his opponent. Mohandas's opponent was a young man called Yu Zhengning who was only in his 20s. Moreover, this Yu Zhengning represented Hong sect in China. Zhou Hao suspected that this Yu Zhengning was a participant sent by the military of China. In China, Hongmen is as famous as the Qing Gang, and even more famous, partly because many movies in Hong Kong have depicted Hongmen. On the other hand, the biggest gangs in Hong Kong, including Xiang Huaqiang's Xian Ian and Ni Yongxiao's Alliance of Heroes, were founded by Hongmen, who had escaped to Hong Kong after being chased by Qing Ting. The most important thing was that although Hong Gate was a gang organization, it had a huge impact on China. Just like how Jiang Jisher and the members of the Central Party had joined the Qing Gang in order to obtain the Qing Gang's help, earlier on, in order to overthrow the Qing dynasty, his father Sun Zhongshan had borrowed the help of a large number of overseas foreigners and obtained countless manpower and resources. As for the foreigners in the Southern Ocean, America, and other regions, most of them were from the Hong sect, so Sun Zhongshan naturally joined the Hong sect under the introduction of his uncle, Zhong Shuisheng. He also ordered the members of the alliance to join the Hong sect. In the various revolutions that China had overthrown feudal rule, the Hongmen faction in China and abroad had contributed a lot to the development of China. During that period of time, they had even established a political party. Although after the establishment of New China, due to the cleansing of the government, the Qinggang and Hongmen faction in China had weakened a lot. The Hongmen faction even moved its headquarters to San Francisco in the United States and established the World Hongmen headquarters. However, from Zhao Rixin and First Army, Zhou Hao knew some insider information. As Hongmen's branches had spread all over the world, it had a far-reaching influence on all industries, although Hongmen was no longer a unified organization. Just like the New Ian Society and the United Britain Society, even though there were still many traditions left behind by Hongmen in the society, they had already given up the name of Hongmen and stood on their own mountain. However, the power of the Hongmen Society was not small after all, so at the end of the 1970s, after Duke Deng gained power, he secretly sent people to contact the Hongmen Society, making them gradually become an organization hidden among the people and overseas in the center. Of course, because the Hongmen sect had actually been split up. Therefore, the Hongmen sect that returned to the motherland was not the entire Hongmen sect. It was the most orthodox and core of the Hongmen sect, part of it. Although this part of the Hongmen sect was not as powerful as the other branches on the surface, it possessed the essence of the Hongmen sect, including the martial arts passed down from Shaolin. The first to establish the Hong faction were the survivors of Southern Shaolin, the rumored 5 Shaolin ancestors. Their martial arts faculty originated from Shaolin. However, after many years of evolution, they had created their own martial arts systematically. They were called Hong Fist. Zhou Hao saw that Yu Zhengning's arms were dark and powerful, and there were thick calluses on his palms. His knuckles were much thicker than an ordinary person's. Clearly, he had a deep understanding of martial arts in his hands. This was an expert of Flood Fist, Zhou Hao concluded. That Yu Zhengning should be a participant sent by China, Zhou Hao said to Zhao Yuqin. Oh. Zhao Yuqin also looked at Yu Zhengning with interest. She saw that Yu Zhengning had a straight face and a cold expression. Although the competition had not started yet, his entire person was like a sharp sword that had been unsheathed from its sheath. Zhao Yuqin said, "He is too young. Is his strength enough?" Zhou Hao smiled. Sometimes, the difference in martial arts cannot be measured by age. Although there are few shortcuts to the Qigong in the inner family, one's talent and diligence are also very useful. Hee, I almost forgot that you were the most typical example of shortcuts. Zhao Yuqin smiled. Zhou Hao shook his head with a bitter smile. Indeed, due to the opportunity to ingest the amber fruit, his body's potential was stimulated. He obtained inner energy equivalent to a normal person's 100 years of cultivation. He also cultivated the extremely profound Qi nourishment records and 5 birds play. However, after all these years of cultivation and fighting with all kinds of strong opponents, Zhou Hao's cultivation in martial arts could no longer be compared to what it was in the past. For example, the White Tiger 5 King Sword he had comprehended from the Battle of Little Taro was derived from the Qi nourishment records and the 5 birds play. He looked at Yu Zhengning and said to Zhao Yuqin, "According to my estimation, Yu Zhengning's strength is only half a level lower than Big Ox. For someone of his age, it is already very rare. However, even I can't see that Mohandas's true strength. Therefore, I don't know how high Yu Zhengning's chances of winning are. However, since our country is able to send him out for the competition, you have to have some confidence in him." From the introduction book provided by the organizer, he knew that it had been held for more than 10 years and had more than 30 years of history, the Underworld King Cup. In the end, there were 6 people who won the championship. They were the ones who won the most championships in all countries, followed by India, 3 times, and then Japan, 2 times. In general, in terms of martial arts, China was the undisputed #1 country. Unfortunately, these were only spread in the underground world. In normal society, not many people knew about it, including the Chinese themselves. Now, they were more and more advocating third-rate martial arts like Taekwondo and Karate. Instead, they scoffed at the essence of their own people. But Zhou Hao also thought that, in fact, China still went easy because if a martial arts grandmaster like Big Boss or Li Tsongyan participated in the competition, it would probably include all the previous champions. However, these were only fantasies. As the commander of the First Army, Big Boss's identity was extremely important. Why would he participate in the competition and appear in front of everyone? As for Li Tsongyan, he was the master of the Tang sect and a descendant of the Tang dynasty. His status was noble and illustrious. He would never put such an underground boxing match in his eyes. Just as Zhou Hao was lost in his thoughts, the female attendant who registered for the bet came over again and asked which side Zhou Hao wanted to vote for. Zhou Hao lowered his head and thought for a while. His intuition told him that the final winner was Mohandas, and Yu Zhengning's odds were as high as 1 to 5. It had clearly become the unpopular topic of this match. However, since Yu Zhengning was representing China in the competition, Zhou Hao knew that his superhuman intuition had 98% accuracy, but he still bet 10 million on Yu Zhengning, talking about his patriotism. Soon, the competition between Yu Zhengning and Mohandas began. As Zhou Hao had expected, Yu Zhengning's hand skills were very profound. Hong Fist's moves were fierce and tough, and when he used his fist and palm, it was even more vigorous. It was not any weaker than Zhang Daniu's bull punch fist. Furthermore, Yu Zhengning's lower body was very stable. He stood on the ground as if he had grown roots. What was even more rare was the strong fighting spirit that burst out from Yu Zhengning's eyes, as if there were two groups of people fighting fiercely inside the lower body of the lower body of. Zhou Hao nodded his head repeatedly when he saw this. It's rare, really rare. If there are no accidents, this Yu Zhengning's future in martial arts will be limitless. I'm afraid that he will become a genius like Big Boss, Supreme Expert. Truly a fine piece of jade, Zhao Yuqin said with a smile. Look at your tone. If others don't know about it, they will think that you are a 70 to 80-year-old little old man. Hee. Zhou Hao smiled noncommittally. His martial arts realm was already at the top of the pyramid, and he was still climbing to the top. Therefore, in terms of realm, he was not weaker than any expert. Therefore, when he saw Yu Zhengning, this kind of junior that could be carved, he could not help but admire him. However, although Yu Zhengning was strong, that Mohandas was even more unfathomable. He dealt with Yu Zhengning's powerful attacks wave after wave, but from the beginning to the end, he was able to handle them with ease, without a trace of disorder. Moreover, Yu Zhengning's attacks were weak, so his counterattacks were weak. Yu Zhengning's attacks were strong, so his counterattacks became stronger, like springs. The greater the pressure, the greater the elastic force. Especially since Mohandas had yet to use his strange yoga skill, it was unknown if Yu Zhengning could withstand it. Sure enough, not long after Zhou Hao's worry appeared, he saw Mohandas's left arm, which was a few meters away from Yu Zhengning, suddenly grow longer. Just like the previous battle, Mohandas's arm lengthened very quickly. Ordinary people could not see it at all. In an instant, it had already reached Yu Zhengning's chest, and the attack was precisely Yu Zhengning's chest acupoint. Yu Zhengning was hit by Mohandas's left palm. He slid back nearly 10 meters and left 2 deep marks on the ground. Mohandas's arm also returned to its original state before the audience saw it. However, his face showed surprise. Yu Zhengning crossed his arms in front of his chest. There was a thin smoke on his right forearm. It turned out that he had blocked it in time and protected his chest. However, his right arm, which was hit by Mohandas, was abnormally numb and could not exert any force. It could be seen how powerful Mohandas's palm force was. At this moment, Mohandas suddenly withdrew his attack and stood up. He untied the robe on his waist and revealed his upper body, which was much thinner than an ordinary person's. At the same time, a cold look suddenly appeared in his originally emotionless eyes. Zhou Hao immediately felt that something was wrong. He subconsciously wanted to remind Yu Zhengning who was in the arena. He saw the surrounding audience exclaim in surprise, because Mohandas's figure had actually disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. However, Zhou Hao could clearly see that Mohandas was rushing towards Yu Zhengning at an extremely fast speed. Even with Zhou Hao's eyesight, he could barely see Mohandas's figure, but he couldn't see his footsteps clearly. If Zhou Hao was like this, Yu Zhengning wouldn't be able to see Mohandas's movement. When he reacted, Mohandas's dark and cold face had already appeared in front of him. Before he could react, his abdomen, chest, and chin all felt a sharp pain at the same time. Then, Yu Zhengning felt his whole body fly up. Zhou Hao saw that Mohandas had struck Yu Zhengning 3 times in an instant. Mohandas had shattered Yu Zhengning's lower jaw with his palm and sent him flying away from the ground. He did not have the strength to fight back at all. Moreover, the strength that Mohandas displayed at this moment was actually much stronger than when Zhang Daniu had used the 9 bull's horn. This fellow's strength is far from the level of a first-rated warrior. Zhou Hao's eyes widened as he shouted in his heart. The so-called first-rated expert and supreme expert were actually the different realms of martial arts that Zhou Hao had combined with the opinions of the great master and his own understanding. In fact, compared to ordinary people, a first-class expert was already a superhuman existence. Of course, the so-called first-rate experts we're talking about. It was a person's overall strength without the help of a hot weapon. He did not need to be an all-round expert. For example, his inner force was relatively weak, but his light body technique or external martial arts were very proficient. By making up for his overall strength, he could also step into the category of first-rate experts. If he had to say the difference between a first-rate master and an ordinary person, then in terms of strength, he could become a top-notch martial arts master with profound inner force under the stimulation of his own inner force. The strongest attack was equivalent to 10 tons of strength. Just like Zhang Daniu's 9 Bulls Kowtow, the power of this move could almost reach 10 tons. Among the ordinary people who had never practiced the Qigong, the boxing champion who had been trained for a long time could reach a maximum of 500 kilograms of strength. As for the ordinary people who had never been trained, they would usually reach 100 kilograms in the martial arts path. Of course, pure strength was only one aspect of overall strength. Just like when Zhang Daniu fought Dongfang Yi's swift and nimble figure had made Zhang Daniu suffer a lot. Among the fighter that Zhou Hao had seen before, there were Zhang Daniu, Li Shuihan, the third master of First Army, Shou Jing, the second elder of Tang Sect, the master of Black Tortoise, Sun Linfeng, Gu Changfeng of the Green Gang, the former ghost of the Wind Devil clan, the latter ghost of the former ghost of the former ghost of the former ghost of the former ghost of the latter, Jingukyu Shiro, and the previous flying help of the previous ghost. There was also the Isagador and Yu Zhengning that he had seen today. These people, whether they had profound cultivation base on the Qigong or had unique skills in fists and kicks, were all very rare experts. As for Supreme Expert, he could be said to be the pinnacle of martial arts. As far as Zhou Hao knew, the prerequisite to step into Supreme Expert's realm was to transform one's mind into a form. It was to use one's powerful mental strength to transform one's concept of martial arts into a form, and then influence one's opponent with a strong mental strength, so that the opponent could see his own illusion. This kind of powerful mental strength, the most important thing was to rely on one's continuous exploration and comprehension of martial arts. One could not force it. As for Supreme Expert, he could also become a Grandmaster Expert. He could totally create a new sect. Although Supreme Expert was like a first-rate expert and could not depend entirely on his strength, as far as Zhou Hao knew, Supreme Expert was a powerful expert who had cultivated the internal Qigong to the transformation stage. It was precisely this kind of mental comprehension that allowed them to deduce new things. Otherwise, they would only be pure successors. Up until now, Zhou Hao had yet to see Supreme Expert who had reached the realm of transforming intent into form, but did not have a profound inner force supporting him. Supreme Expert might not be as strong as a first-class expert in terms of pure physical strength. However, if Supreme Expert fought a first-class expert alone, a first-class expert would have absolutely no chance of winning, because Supreme Expert could absolutely suppress a first-class expert in terms of mental strength. Under such mental intimidation, a first-rated warrior would usually lose all will to fight, or even completely lose all ability to resist and let the opponent slaughter him. When Indonesia was fighting against the government army, Zhou Hao had been enraged by the tragic deaths of Deng Din and the rest of the Han soldiers. The mental strength that he had released could allow the army of nearly 1,000 people to see the illusion that he had created at the same time. However, this had also caused a great deal of damage to Zhou Hao's spiritual energy, causing him to recover after a long period of recuperation. The strength displayed by Mohandas now had already far exceeded the scope of a first-rated expert. He just didn't know that Mohandas had reached the realm of transforming meaning into form. Otherwise, this person would already be a first-grade Supreme Expert and would be able to become a Grandmaster of his generation. Yu Zhengning was sent flying into the sky by Mohandas. Due to the strong impact on his chin, it caused him to have symptoms of a concussion. He was delirious and didn't know how to fight back. Mohandas did not seem to be going easy on him. He jumped up and appeared in front of Yu Zhengning. Mohandas, who was in the air, made a circle in the air. His right foot heavily hit the defenseless Yu Zhengning's chest. Boom! Yu Zhengning violently crashed into the nanocarbon glass at the side of the field. The very tough glass cracked from the impact. Yu Zhengning spurted blood from his mouth and nose. Most of the ribs in his chest were probably broken. After falling off the glass, Yu Zhengning lay on the ground, as if he had fainted. Mohandas lightly landed on the ground, looking very calm and relaxed. The audience was silent. Many of the people in the audience were Chinese. When they saw Yu Zhengning being beaten up like this, their expressions changed more or less. Foreigner, on the other hand, let out an unprecedented shout after a brief moment of shock. He looked very excited. The referee outside the arena seemed to want to make sure that Yu Zhengning had lost his ability to fight. But at this moment, Yu Zhengning moved. His hands trembled as he propped himself up on the ground. He slowly and laboriously propped himself up, then stood up with great difficulty. Yu Zhengning's face was covered in blood, and his chin was broken into pieces. He could not speak, but the fighting spirit in his eyes was still firm and vigorous. It even affected the audience outside the arena. "Yu Zhengning, good job." A man in his 40s stood up from the audience and shouted at the top of his voice. Then, the other people in China also stood up and cheered for Yu Zhengning. Even the waiters in the venue joined in. In the face of enemies, the people of China are still very united. Zhou Hao was touched when he saw this scene. Yu Zhengning stared at Mohandas, who was opposite him. He clenched his fists tightly. Blood kept dripping from his face, forming plum blossoms on the ground. He took a difficult step forward. 2 steps. 3 steps. His speed gradually increased. Finally, he rushed towards Mohandas. He raised his 2 fists as well. It was obvious that he was going to make the final blow to Mohandas. However, Mohandas sneered and raised his left palm horizontally in front of his chest, while his right fist was raised to the side of his face. He did not make any movements. Yu Zhengning, who had not yet rushed over, suddenly felt as if he had been hit by a pile driver. His whole body flew backwards and crashed into the glass behind him once again. The others didn't know what was going on, but Zhou Hao saw Mohandas's right hand grow longer and hit Yu Zhengning's face. Slowly sliding down from the glass, Yu Zhengning knelt down, but he still forced himself not to fall down. After spitting out a big mouthful of blood again, his eyes were still fixed on Mohandas, and there was still a stubborn fighting spirit burning in his eyes. "Admit defeat. If you admit defeat, I can stop now," Mohandas said in stiff Mandarin. Yu Zhengning could not speak, but his eyes were so stubborn from the beginning to the end. Clearly, he did not intend to admit defeat and surrender, because he represented the people of China. Mohandas shook his head, as if he was feeling sorry for Yu Zhengning's stubbornness. In the next moment, he disappeared from where he was and reappeared in front of Yu Zhengning. Boom! Yu Zhengning crashed into the glass again. The nanocarbon glass also cracked like a spider web. This time, Yu Zhengning was bleeding from all 7 of his orifices. His arms were also hanging limply. If it wasn't for the glass, he would have fallen. However, his eyes were still closed, and he was still holding on. "Zhengning, admit defeat." Suddenly, a man in his 50s wearing a green gown in the front row stood up and shouted to Yu Zhengning, who was in the arena with tears streaming down his face, "Forget it. We all know that you have tried your best. Admit defeat. You will lose your life." That was the teacher of Yu Zhengning, Kang Chuanxi. Yu Zhengning was the most outstanding disciple of the younger generation of Hongmin sect. He had already been decided to be the future flag-bearer of Hongmin sect. Initially, Kang Chuanxi and the others thought that with Yu Zhengning's strength, even if he couldn't win the championship, he would still be able to get into the top 3. However, they didn't expect that Mohandas's strength had far exceeded the scope of a first-rate expert, causing Yu Zhengning to only be beaten up. The rest of the audience in China had gloomy expressions on their faces because Yu Zhengning represented the Chinaman. No one wanted to see the Chinaman surrender to his opponent. As if he could feel the hopes of the surrounding people, Yu Zhengning didn't listen to Kang Chuanxi. Instead, he looked at Mohandas bravely and fearlessly. The flames in his eyes seemed to burn even more intensely. All of a sudden, everyone, including Zhou Hao, could vaguely see a huge long weapon appearing behind Yu Zhengning. The tip of the weapon was in the shape of a well, and the shaft was engraved with the pattern of a lion and tiger. It was emitting a majestic aura that was unyielding to the heaven and earth. It was the halberd drawn by Feng Tian. It was the ancient halberd of the top general of the 3 kingdoms, Lu Bu Lu Fengxian. Everyone in the audience recognized that the halberd was a very famous halberd. However, this halberd only appeared for more than a second. It only left a blurry image in everyone's mind before it disappeared, causing most of the audience to think that it was caused by their own eyes. Zhou Hao was stunned because this was clearly an image formed by transforming intent into form. In the midst of life and death, Yu Zhengning actually relied on his unyielding fighting spirit to burst out with his hidden mental strength and touched the threshold of transforming intent into form. Although there was still a long way to go before he reached that realm, Yu Zhengning had already become a quasi-supreme expert with unlimited potential. Mohandas, who was in the arena, also saw the halberd that Yu Zhengning had transformed into. His expression changed drastically, and a cold, killing intent shot out from his eyes. He muttered to himself, "China actually has such a heaven-warping talent. I can't let you live." After he finished speaking, his right palm was about to hit Yu Zhengning's chest. At this moment, Yu Zhengning could not move at all. If he was hit by Mohandas, he would have no hope of surviving. In the audience, how could Zhou Hao allow Mohandas to destroy another future martial grandmaster in China? He gathered the genuine aura on his finger and a finger as sharp as a sword shot towards Mohandas. Yu Zhengning was indeed a 1 in 10,000 genius in martial arts. Although his cultivation base was only at the level of a first-class expert, there was still a big gap between him and Zhang Daniu. However, his unyielding fighting spirit had allowed him to break through the comprehension between life and death. He had touched the extreme stage who had transformed his will into a form. If it were just a few days, Yu Zhengning would definitely become another master-level martial artist in China. Mohandas naturally did not wish for another master like this to appear in China, so he planned to eliminate Yu Zhengning when he was still young. He did not want to create another strong enemy for himself in the martial arts world in his own country. However, just as he was about to strike out with his palm to kill Yu Zhengning, who had no ability to resist, he suddenly felt an extremely fierce force flying towards him from his left, straight at his vital point in the face. An ordinary expert who had reached his level. It was similar to the sudden inspiration ability of the gods and Buddhas in the God Investiture list. Looking to the right, Mohandas saw a hole in the nanocarbon glass like a thin piece of paper. There was not a single crack around the hole, which showed the concentration of his power. Although the force was as sharp as a sword and was invisible and silent, Mohandas could still predict its trajectory based on the fluctuation of the air current. He hurriedly retreated. His intuition told him that a cool breeze brushed past his face. The vacuum-cutting force caused by it even left a shallow cut on Mohandas's nose bridge. Chirp! After a light sound, Mohandas saw a small black hole on the ground. He didn't know how deep it was. He was shocked because with the power of this chi, he could guess that the person who attacked him was not weaker than him at all. In fact, he was even stronger than him. He looked in the direction where the energy came from and saw that there was nothing unusual in the audience. He could not find out who did it. At this time, due to the severe injury and the exhaustion of his mental energy, Yu Zhengning, who was on his last breath, fell forward and completely fainted. Most of the referees were Chinese, so they quickly walked over to check on Yu Zhengning's condition. A few seconds later, they raised their hands and announced that Yu Zhengning had completely lost his ability to fight, and that Mohandas was the winner of this match. Kong Chuanqi and a few other people from Hongmen rushed to the battlefield with the rescue team and carried the severely injured and unconscious Yu Zhengning down. Kong Chuanqi also looked at Mohandas with hatred. Mohandas didn't pay any attention to Kong Chuanqi's hateful gaze. He just secretly observed the surrounding crowd, trying to find the expert who stopped him from killing Yu Zhengning. Zhou Hao was also squinting his eyes at Mohandas, who was below. Judging from the inner energy of this Indian yoga expert, his strength was already considered as one of the super experts. He just didn't know if he had reached the realm of transforming his inner energy into a form or not. If Mohandas was really the master-level supreme expert, then the Ambani family behind him would be too terrifying. They actually raised a supreme expert. After a long while, Mohandas, who had no idea what was going on, took a deep look at the small hole on the ground before leaving the arena. Zhou Hao held Zhao Yuqin's hand and left the audience seats. "Sister, let's go and see Daniu and Yu Zhengning." The medical room was located on the west side of the air raid shelter. It was more than 200 square meters and was very spacious. The facilities were very complete. There were not many hospitals in the country that had high-quality equipment. Those doctors were professionals hired from all over the world with high salaries. A small portion of them were actually old traditional Chinese medicines with superb medical skills. Although they could not compare to Xiao Nanyue, they could still be called masters. Perhaps it was fate, but Yu Zhengning's bed was beside Zhang Daniu. Zhang Daniu, who had been sent over earlier, was much better now. However, his face was still pale, and his upper body was covered with bandages. He was intravenous, and Lei, who was beside him. Seeing Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin, Zhang Daniu smiled weakly and said, "Boss, big sister, did you come to see me? Don't worry, I'm fine." Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin smiled in relief when they saw the silly smile on Zhang Daniu's face. Lei, who explained to them about Zhang Daniu's injuries. The doctor said that Daniu's injuries are very serious, especially the wound on the left side of his upper body. The wound is very deep and his ribs are broken. He almost hurt his heart. However, his life is no longer in danger. However, I'm afraid that Daniu will not be able to participate in the finals. Zhang Daniu said stubbornly, "Boss, I'm fine. I can still fight in the finals." "Fight? Fight my A**s." Zhou Hao scolded him angrily. "You are lucky to have survived this time. You don't care if you are impulsive or not. If your mother finds out, How am I going to explain it to her? Zhang Daniyu was most afraid of Zhou Hao, but even though Zhou Hao was scolding him, he could feel Zhou Hao's concern for him. His face was still smiling like usual. Zhou Hao could not help but smile. Although Zhang Daniyu's injuries were serious, his life was not in danger. When he went back, he only needed to use his inner energy and the Shen herbal classics to treat his internal injuries. He believed that Zhang Daniyu would recover very soon. On the other side, Yu Zhengning's condition was much more serious than Zhang Daniyu's. A few doctors surrounded him and nervously treated him. However, his internal injuries were very serious. Blood kept flowing out of his nose and mouth. Kong Chuanxi and the rest of the people from Hongmin sect were also nervous and anxious, and their faces were full of worry. The patient's internal bleeding is very serious, and his internal organs are also seriously damaged. He can't stop the bleeding, one of the doctors shouted. The old traditional Chinese medicine also quickly inserted 2 needles into Yu Zhengning's chest. He said with a solemn expression, "His meridians are seriously damaged, especially his heart. I can only temporarily save his life, but after a long time, I'm afraid." When Kong Chuanxi and the other experts of the inner circle heard this, their expressions changed drastically. They knew how terrible the damage to his heart was. This was not a simple heart disease. It was extremely difficult to treat him with cardiac surgery in Western medicine. He needed the Qigong experts to repair his heart with genuine auras in order to have a chance of survival. However, Kong Chuanxi and the others were far from being able to repair the heart meridian with their internal force. Even the Hong sect master might not be able to do anything about it. "I'm afraid we have to ask Big Boss for help," Kong Chuanxi muttered to himself, "but Big Boss is currently on a mission. We don't know where he is in the world. Besides, even if we find him, I'm afraid that we won't be able to make it back in a short period of time. What should we do now?" Although his voice was soft, Zhou Hao could hear it clearly. He thought to himself that they were indeed from the military. Zhou Hao walked closer to Yu Zhengning's bed. Kong Chuanxi also noticed that someone was approaching him. He quickly and vigilantly stared at Zhou Hao. He said in a cold voice, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Zhou Hao knew that Kong Chuanxi was only guarding against him because he was worried about Yu Zhengning's safety. Therefore, he didn't get angry. He said calmly, "I admire this Mr. Yu very much. Now that he has suffered such a serious injury, I have decided to lend a hand as well." Kong Chuanxi's expression eased a little, but he still said sadly, "It's useless. If it wasn't for that kind of peerless expert, I'm afraid Zhengning's life wouldn't have been able to be saved." He would never think that a young man like Zhou Hao would have such profound inner force skills. He might not even know any ordinary martial arts. However, Kong Chuanxi was still very grateful to Zhou Hao for his kindness to Yu Zhengning. He forced a smile on his face and said, "Mister, we thank you for your kindness, but..." Zhou Hao didn't want to talk to him too much because the longer he delayed, the more dangerous Yu Zhengning's situation would become. He gently pushed away Kong Chuanxi and the 2 doctors who were standing beside the bed, and removed the silver needle that the old traditional Chinese medicine had pierced into Yu Zhengning's chest. The silver needle of the old traditional Chinese medicine was used to suppress Yu Zhengning's internal injuries. Seeing Zhou Hao rashly pull it out, he said, What are you doing? Do you want to kill him?" Zhou Hao ignored the angry rebuke of the old traditional Chinese medicine. He pointed with his right hand and tapped Yu Zhengning's chest a few times with lightning speed. Yu Zhengning's pale and bloodless face had regained some color. Kong Chuanxi, who was about to stop Zhou Hao, was shocked when he saw Zhou Hao strike the acupoint technique. He was a man with discerning eyes. He could tell that Zhou Hao's attack was far inferior to his master and the sect master of Hong sect. Therefore, he stopped himself and stopped the 2 disciples who were also trying to stop Zhou Hao. After that, Zhou Hao gently pressed his right palm on Yu Zhengning's chest and slowly injected the genuine aura into Yu Zhengning's body, helping him repair his damaged heart meridian. This was a skill. If the genuine aura was too fierce, it would cause Yu Zhengning's damaged and fragile heart meridian to suffer a second injury. If the genuine aura was not strong enough, it would be difficult to open the clot in his heart meridian. The surrounding people could tell that Zhou Hao was trying to save Yu Zhengning, so they held their breaths and did not dare to disturb him. After a long time, Zhou Hao finally took his hand away. He exhaled and said to Kong Chuanxi, "His heart is fine now, but the other damaged meridians still need to be repaired, especially his internal injuries. You have to be careful." Kong Chuanxi looked at Zhou Hao in a daze, speechless. On one hand, he was grateful to Zhou Hao for saving Yu Zhengning's life. On the other hand, he was surprised by Zhou Hao's cultivation base. One should know that repairing the heart meridian not only required a powerful genuine aura, but also the ability to control the genuine aura at will. A slight weight could endanger the life of the injured. Just now, Kang Chuanxi wanted to seek help from Big Boss, which showed how high the requirement of the caster was. Zhou Hao raised his hand to stop Kang Chuanxi before he could speak and said, "Big Boss, there's no need to thank me. I only admire Mr. Yu's spirit and his moral integrity. Furthermore, his future achievements in martial arts are limitless. I don't want our martial arts world to lose such a dazzling new star." Although Hongmin sect was related to the military and Kang Chuanxi knew Big Boss from First Army, he didn't know about Zhou Hao or Zhao Yuqin. With Zhou Hao's ability to repair Yu Zhengning's heart meridian in such a short period of time, Kang Chuanxi deduced that Zhou Hao's martial arts might have reached the level that Big Boss admired. But this was also unbelievable, because Zhou Hao only looked like he was in his early 20s. Originally, Big Boss reaching the manifestation of martial arts at the age of 40 was enough to attract the attention of all martial artists. Yu Zhengning was also regarded as the disciple with the highest potential and the best future since the establishment of the Hongmin sect, and was regarded as a treasure by the Hongmin sect. Kang Chuanxi had once heard from his master, the old sect master of Hongmin sect, that in the late Qing dynasty and the early Qing dynasty and during the War of Resistance, there were peerless experts hidden in the mountains that joined the ranks of protecting the country. However, all of those grandmaster-level experts were old elders who were over 100 years old. And now, Zhou Hao was much younger than Big Boss, and he already had such power. It was truly unbelievable. At the same time, Kang Chuanxi was also puzzled. Why hadn't he heard of an expert like Zhou Hao in the domestic martial arts world? He had already put away his previous disrespectful heart and said respectfully to Zhou Hao, "Mister, I can't express my gratitude for your kindness, but I still hope that you can leave your name behind so that we, the Hongmin sect, can repay you in the future. There is no need to repay me. As the saying goes, one should never leave his name behind for doing good deeds. I am not that kind of person who will repay kindness with kindness." Zhou Hao said. The reason why he saved Yu Zhengning was because of his love for talent. Furthermore, Yu Zhengning's righteousness had impressed Zhou Hao. For both public and private reasons, Zhou Hao could not let such a martial arts genius die. At this time, a man in his 40s stood next to Zhang Dainiu's hospital bed and asked him, "Sir, you must be Iron Fist, Zhang Dainiu, right?" "Hello. My surname is Wu. I want to ask you, are you interested in serving the country?" The man's voice was very soft. It seemed that only Zhang Dainiu and him could hear him, but Zhou Hao could also hear him clearly. He turned around and looked at the man surnamed Wu. He found that there was a mighty and cold aura on that man's body. It was very similar to Lei Hu, who came from the Special Forces. However, that aura was even stronger than Lei Hu's. Clearly, he was a senior officer of the military. Zhou Hao frowned. "I can confirm that this man named Wu is from the military. He should be with Kang Chuanxi and the others." Listening to what he said to Zhang Dainiu, this man clearly had the intention of recruiting Zhang Dainiu into the army. After all, the strength that Zhang Dainiu displayed in the Underworld King Cup wasn't any weaker than Yu Zhengning's. What effect? I don't understand. I only work for my boss. If you need anything, just look for my boss. Zhang Dainiu's muffled voice sounded like he didn't understand the world. It sounded simple and innocent, but it also showed his loyalty to Zhou Hao. The man named Wu furrowed his brows. He had an imposing manner that didn't make him angry. Coincidentally, Zhou Hao had returned to Zhang Dainiu's side. The man named Wu also stood up and looked at Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao ignored him. Instead, he turned to Zhao Yuqin, who was sitting beside the bed, and asked, "Sister, is this your friend?" Zhao Yuqin gently shook her head. "I don't know him. He just said that he has something to tell Danielle." With Zhao Yuqin's intelligence, she could naturally tell that the man surnamed Wu was from the military and his rank was not low. However, she didn't have Zhou Hao's hearing ability. She could even hear the man surnamed Wu whispering to Zhang Dainiu, "You are the boss of Zhang Dainiu?" The man named Wu was somewhat dissatisfied with Zhou Hao's cold attitude.
Yes.
"Hello, my surname is Wu." The man with the surname Wu suppressed the unhappiness in his heart and said to Zhou Hao, "I see that Brother Zhang's martial arts is very strong and can contribute a lot to the country, so I want to recommend him to join our army. May I ask if you are his guardian?" Zhou Hao smiled and shook his head. Danielle is already an adult. Why would he need a guardian? If you want to recommend him to join the army, just ask him for his opinion. If he agrees, that will be fine. A hint of joy flashed across Wu's eyes. He turned to Zhang Dainiu and said, "Brother Zhang, your boss said that you can make your own decision. What do you think? Are you interested in joining our army? Don't worry, with your strength and the better treatment the country has given you in recent years, The remuneration you will receive will definitely not be lower than now. Furthermore, with your strength, it will not be difficult for you to become a general-level officer in the future. It's a good thing to bring honor to your ancestors. He saw through Zhang Daniu's simple and straightforward character, which was unique to farmers. Therefore, he used the temptation of bring honor to our ancestors to recruit Zhang Daniu. However, he heard Zhang Daniu say without hesitation, I can't leave the boss. The boss has done us a great favor and is good to me. I want to work for the boss for the rest of my life. My mother said that we can't be ungrateful to the boss. Also, the boss gave me a lot of money. I can now bring glory to my ancestors. The expression on the face of the man surnamed Wu froze. He never thought that Zhang Daniu would be so loyal to Zhou Hao. He thought, if Zhang Daniu's personality was that of a country, then he would be a great soldier. Zhou Hao also spoke at this time. Mr. Wu, you have heard what Inyo said. As the saying goes, a melon that is twisted by force is not sweet. I think you should understand this as well. On behalf of Dinyo, I apologize to you. Oh right, there is one more thing. Contribution to the country doesn't have to be achieved through enlistment. The man named Wu didn't look good, but the smile on Zhou Hao's face made it hard for him to lose his temper. He had no choice but to say goodbye and return to Kong Chuanxi and the others. Zhou Hao saw the attitude of Kong Chuanxi and the others towards the man named Wu. Although it wasn't flattery, it was still respectful. He knew that his guess was right. That man should be a high-ranking general in the army, and he should be in charge of some secret missions. Otherwise, he would not appear in this underground boxing match. Zhao Yuqin would also know him. Zhang Daniu rested for a while. The organizer of the Underworld King Cup arranged a special car with medical equipment to send him back to the hotel. Zhou Hao drove away with Zhao Yuqin and Lei Hu. The one with the surname Wu should be a general. Lei Hu said to Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin as he drove. Zhou Hao curled his lips. Humph, that guy, trying to pry into my corner in front of me. He really doesn't give me any face. Besides, he doesn't even know the daughter of our Zhao family. This man's future is limited. Zhao Yuqin rolled her eyes at Zhou Hao, but before she could say anything, Zhou Hao's originally bright smile suddenly darkened, and he even reached out to protect her in his arms. At the same time, he shouted to Lei Hu, who was sitting in the driver's seat in front of him, Ah Hu, stop the car. Lei Hu did not understand, but he still listened to Zhou Hao's orders and stopped the car. This place was still in the outskirts of the city, and it happened to be in the middle of two hills. It could be said that he did not see the village in front of him, or the shop in front of him. A tall and thin figure walked out from the dark side of the road ahead. Zhou Hao's eyesight was sharp, and he recognized that person to be Mohandas. He thought that this person must have known that he was the one who attacked him. Big sis, you stay in the car with Ah Hu. I'll go down and take a look. Zhou Hao said to Zhao Yuqin. Xiao Hao, be careful. Zhao Yuqin said with concern. Zhou Hao nodded and smiled. Sister, do you not have confidence in Xiao Hao? Ah Hu, protect older sister well. After saying that, Zhou Hao pushed open the door and got out of the car. Lei Hu also turned on the headlights of the car and shone on Mohandas. Zhou Hao looked straight at Mohandas and said mockingly, You are an expert of your generation, but you also have the habit of being a thief? He didn't have a good impression of this Mohandas, because when Mohandas saw that Yu Zhengning had the potential to break through to the extreme stage, he actually wanted to kill him. Mohandas also stared at Zhou Hao. He said in a stiff manner, How dare I call myself an expert in front of you? However, what surprised me is that an expert of your level would actually do such a despicable thing as ambushing and injuring others. So now you want to get back at me? Zhou Hao sneered. He saw that Mohandas's inner energy was far beyond the level of a first-rated warrior, and it was obvious that he did not use his full strength when fighting Yu Zhengning. Therefore, Mohandas's inner energy had probably reached the pinnacle. Initially, even if Mohandas did not come to find him himself, Zhou Hao was still considering whether he should fight with him. After all, at Zhou Hao's level, it was hard to find an opponent who was on par with him. Tai Lang, Feng Yimo, had fled. Even his old enemy, Li Tsongyun, couldn't find him. As for Big Boss and Li Tsongyun, Zhou Hao couldn't fight them with his bare hands. Therefore, Mohandas's arrival could satisfy the desire in Zhou Hao's heart. 0. Ever since he had comprehended the White Tiger 5 King Sword, he hadn't used it properly except for the time when he destroyed the Wind Fiend Taro's Great Thousand Fates Misty Lotus. This was a good opportunity. I've long heard that China is a vast land with abundant resources. There are countless martial arts experts, but none of the so-called martial arts experts that I've encountered is worthy of me going all out. Mohandas chuckled and said, That kid called Yu Zhengning today is quite interesting. It's just that he is a little too young. Mohandas's voice was still there, but his figure instantly appeared in front of Zhou Hao, and his afterimage had yet to disappear. His speed was really incredible. However, before Mohandas could attack, he was sent flying back. He somersaulted in the air for 2 rounds before he was able to get rid of the force of the attack. He landed steadily on the ground and rubbed his chest with a serious expression. Zhou Hao, on the other hand, swung his left fist horizontally with a smile on his face. Your speed is not bad to deal with ordinary experts, but to use it against me is too much of a stretch. Mohandas, on the other hand, also revealed a smile, appearing very sinister. Interesting. You are worth me going all out. Zhou Hao had used 60% of his strength in that punch, but Mohandas was only hurt. It showed how powerful he was. This also showed that, when he was fighting Yu Zhengning, he didn't even display his true strength. Mohandas took off his robe and wrapped it around his waist. Zhou Hao's face darkened. He knew what Mohandas was doing, which indicated that he was starting to get serious. At the same time, he raised his vigilance. Mohandas's figure suddenly became blurry and distorted like a mirage. The hard concrete ground also had deep pits appearing one after another. There was a bang-bang sound, as if he was hit by an invisible pile driver. In Zhou Hao's eyes, it was a completely different scene. It was caused by Mohandas stepping on the ground with great strength, and his speed was more than twice as fast as before, leaving behind afterimages in the way he moved, just like the clone technique of ninja in Japan. Humph! Zhou Hao snorted coldly, leaving an afterimage in his original position. He moved at a speed that was not inferior to Mohandas's. Zhao Yuqin and Lei Hu, who were in the car, paid close attention to the occupation outside. They had also lit up all the lights in the car. However, Zhou Hao and Mohandas's movement speed was too high. Zhao Yuqin, who was an ordinary person, and Lei Hu, who had received strict military training, could not see the two of them with the naked eye. Zhou Hao and Mohandas seemed to have disappeared from Zhao Yuqin and Lei Hu's sight. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of intense collisions could be heard from outside. From time to time, there would be holes in the ground. The trees on both sides of the road were broken in the middle, but no one could be seen. The scene was very strange. If it was someone who did not know the inside story, they would definitely think that this place was haunted. Boom. After a dull sound, a powerful shock wave spread from the distance. Zhao Yuqin and Lei Hu's Land Rover also couldn't help but retreat a few meters. The tempered glass that had been modified to block most of the bullets was actually cracked by the shock wave. After that, Zhou Hao and Mohandas's figures reappeared in front of Zhao Yuqin and Mohandas. Zhou Hao's back was facing the front of the car. The clothes on his upper body were torn due to the violent force, revealing the tough muscles inside. Mohandas was about 20 meters away from Zhou Hao. There were a few more wounds on his thin upper body, but they were not serious. Ahu, move the car to the back, Zhao Yuqin suddenly said. It was not that she was afraid that the battle between Zhou Hao and Mohandas would affect her, but because she was too close to the battlefield, it would cause Zhou Hao to have unnecessary concerns, and he could not go all out without thinking. Staring at Mohandas from afar, Zhou Hao suddenly smiled and said, I am very curious, why would an expert like you participate in an underground match like the Underworld King Cup? Find an opponent? That's not right. With your strength, even if you want to win the championship, it's just a flip of your palm. For the prize money? That shouldn't be the case. With the financial resources of the Barney family, how could a mere 100 million USD be taken seriously? Moreover, according to the introduction of the booklet, you weren't among the previous contestants. So, this should be your first time participating. You're so strong. Why didn't you participate in the competition before? Mohandas also smiled. His originally thin face immediately wrinkled. He said, because over the past 40 years, I have been cultivating in seclusion. It wasn't until half a year ago that my Brahmas guarding Buddhist scripture was completed. I have always heard that there are many powerful experts in your country. I have long wanted to come and experience it. Coincidentally, the Underworld King Cup is being held in your country. And I've heard that India only wins 3 times in the Underworld Cup. Below your China. Hee, our India's history is not any shorter than your China's, and our martial arts history is not any worse than yours. Furthermore, even Buddhism is passed down to you from our side. That's why I want to see how strong your Chinese martial artists are. Mohandas's words shocked Zhou Hao. It was not because of anything else. It was because Mohandas said that he had been cultivating in seclusion for more than 40 years, but Mohandas looked like he was at most 50 years old. Could it be that he had started cultivating in seclusion when he was over 10 years old? Seemingly guessing Zhou Hao's doubts, Mohandas smiled and said, I'm already 97 years old this year. It's just that the Brahmas guarding Buddhist scripture is incomparably profound, allowing my bodily functions to remain in the prime of my life. Oomph. So it's an old monster. Zhou Hao said with disdain. You, on the other hand, really surprised me. Mohandas narrowed his eyes and stared at Zhou Hao. You look like you are in your early 20s, but your martial arts are not any weaker than mine. Could it be that you have cultivated a mystical skill that can keep your youth forever just like me? Zhou Hao said, Don't confuse me with you. I'm a real young man. He waved his hand, and excitement appeared on his face. Don't talk so much nonsense. It's rare to meet an expert like you. It's a good opportunity to give me a hand. After saying that, Zhou Hao unleashed his aura, and a huge and ferocious white tiger appeared in front of him. Its pair of fierce eyes were flickering with a bloodthirsty and cruel cold light. Transformation of will into form? You are indeed a top expert, Mohandas said with a sneer. However, underneath his calm exterior, he was shocked. Zhou Hao was the supreme expert who had transformed his will into his body. He had already guessed this long ago, but he did not expect Zhou Hao's mental strength to be so great. The deterrent force was not something that Yu Zhengning, the rookie who had just touched the threshold of transforming his will into a form, could compare with. At this moment, Mohandas only felt his heartbeat speed up. All the blood in his body seemed to be boiling. The genuine aura also showed signs of going against the current, and it was all because of Zhou Hao's mental deterrent force. He forcefully stabilized his mind, and the genuine aura in his body circulated at the fastest speed possible. Only then did his mind and body slowly recover. At the same time, he also condensed his own mental energy and transformed into a huge monster with only 3 pairs of wings on his head, a human head and a bird body. Unlike the fierce and powerful white tiger behind Zhou Hao, Mohandas's monster was emitting an extremely cold and mysterious aura. It made people feel as if they had been placed in an ice cave, and they felt a chill run down their spines. At this moment, Zhou Hao had finally confirmed that Mohandas was a Grandmaster-level supreme expert. However, the technique that Mohandas practiced was strange. If he hit it, even someone like Zhou Hao would not be able to detect it. The monster above Mohandas's head let out a sharp and ear-piercing sound. Mohandas jumped high into the sky. Zhou Hao knew that this was not the time to lose. He condensed his palm energy and sent it towards Mohandas, who was still in the air. The force of the palm was so powerful that it could topple mountains and overturn seas. Zhou Hao knew that Mohandas wouldn't be able to borrow the force of the attack in the air. He was sure that Mohandas wouldn't be able to withstand his concentrated attack. However, what happened next was beyond Zhou Hao's expectation. Mohandas did not have any leverage in the air, but with his yoga skills, he could dodge Zhou Hao's palm force one by one. For example, his spine could bend 90 degrees backward, and his waist could also twist 180 degrees, making his upper body completely twist to the back. It was totally beyond Zhou Hao's understanding of the human body. While dodging Zhou Hao's attack, Mohandas did not forget to attack Zhou Hao. His hands and feet could grow like rubber tendons, and he could swing them from the sky like a whip. His speed was very fast, and his power was also very terrifying. D***M. I've been waiting for you to use this move for a long time. Zhou Hao sneered in his heart. He keenly caught Mohandas's movements. When his hands became longer and attacked him, he grabbed Mohandas's wrist. Get down here, Zhou Hao shouted angrily. He grabbed Mohandas's hand and pulled it down. Under the strong pull, Mohandas, who was in the air, was completely pulled down. He suddenly fell to the ground, creating a deep pit. Zhou Hao still held onto his wrist and did not intend to show mercy. Both of his hands exerted force at the same time, wanting to pull Mohandas's arm off. Who knew that Mohandas's hand, which had been grabbed, was still restless. It twisted in the opposite direction and hit the acupuncture point on Zhou Hao's forearm, causing Zhou Hao to involuntarily let go of his hand. Mohandas also took this opportunity to break free. In the blink of an eye, he rushed in front of Zhou Hao. His 2 fists, like springs, borrowed the force of the impact to heavily hit Zhou Hao's chest. Zhou Hao was immediately sent flying, smashing the lamp post behind him into pieces. The 2 of them were fighting hand-to-hand below. The white tiger and the human-headed strange bird that had transformed from each other were also biting each other in the sky. The battle was exceptionally intense. After Zhou Hao was sent flying, Mohandas didn't delay any longer. He immediately pounced on Zhou Hao and chased after him while he was winning. Both of his palms were filled with Zhou Hao's, and he subdued Zhou Hao before he could recover. White Tiger 5 Emperor's Sword. Suddenly, Zhou Hao's calm voice was heard by Mohandas's ears. He saw Zhou Hao reaching out his right index and middle fingers and colliding with his palms that were overlapping with each other. This strike contained 100% of Mohandas's power, which was enough to split a mountain. However, this attack was blocked by Zhou Hao's index and middle fingers. It was as if Mohandas had encountered an iron wall that couldn't be broken through, and he couldn't advance any further. Break! Zhou Hao shouted lightly. Mohandas could feel waves of powerful Zhou Hao's coming from Zhou Hao's fingers. Each wave was stronger than the last, and each wave was stronger than the last. When the fifth wave of qi rushed up, Mohandas felt like an entire mountain was pressing down on him. The previous 4 waves of genuine auras exploded at the same time, combining with the 5th wave of qi and turning into an indestructible giant sword. He could no longer resist it. He flew backwards like a meteor and crashed into the ground. However, he still could not withstand the unparalleled force. He crashed into a huge pit that was nearly 100 meters long before he finally stopped. Mohandas spurted out a large mouthful of blood, but the pupils in his eyes instantly enlarged. His entire eyeball had turned into a strange black color. He slowly stood up from the deep pit. His originally thin body rapidly collided like a balloon, and pieces of muscles emerged. Even his height kept increasing, and in the end, he turned into a 2-meter-tall giant. The strange bird on his head also shed its feathers and turned into a 3-headed, 6-armed demon god. Mohandas's left foot supported the ground with one leg, and his right leg was crossed on the left knee. He pushed his chest with both hands and made a strange posture. He shouted in a muffled voice, "Great Nirvana, Devil Pestle." Not only was Mohandas able to lengthen his limbs, he was also able to transform into such a huge man. This was really out of Zhou Hao's expectation. In the past, when he read novels about martial arts, he would occasionally see a cultivation technique called bone shrinking technique. The principle was probably to use one's own genuine aura to control the bones and joints in one's body and make them shrink. He just didn't know if bone shrinking technique really existed in real life. In any case, Zhou Hao had never seen it before. However, at this moment, Mohandas was able to freely control the bones and muscles in his body to reach such an unimaginable degree. Moreover, the evil god behind him had ferocious teeth and ferocious features. Each of his 6 arms held a saber, sword, and other Buddhist artifacts. He was even more ferocious than the Azura Devil, Taro the Wind Devil. Huh! Mohandas shouted, and 2 fists that were much bigger than Zhang Daniu's smashed into the ground. Under this huge impact, the cement ground immediately cracked open, and the wide cracks spread to Zhou Hao's feet like a centipede. But how could this kind of attack do anything to Zhou Hao? With a flash, he crossed the distance between him and Mohandas and appeared in front of Mohandas. However, Mohandas seemed to be prepared for this. As soon as Zhou Hao appeared, he saw the black light shooting out from Mohandas's eyes. He couldn't help but be startled by the coldness and terror. Brahma Devil Pestle. Mohandas's deep and cold voice reached Zhou Hao's ears, and his fist was already right in front of him. Zhou Hao could clearly see the trajectory of Mohandas's fist, but he couldn't move for a moment, as if he was bound by invisible chains, making it impossible for him to dodge. Bang! Even with Zhou Hao's invulnerable body, which was much stronger than Zhang Daniu's, he still couldn't block the force of Mohandas's punch. Like a golf ball that had been hit, Zhou Hao flew high into the air. At the same time, he felt his internal organs and blood surging. After stabilizing his body in the air, Zhou Hao saw Mohandas's figure rapidly grow bigger. In the blink of an eye, he had also jumped to Zhou Hao's side. The huge evil god waved its 6 arms and used those magic tools to attack the white tiger on Zhou Hao's head. Mohandas's eyes also exploded with a deeper black light under the roar of the evil god. He closed the 2 fists that were raised and then heavily smashed onto Zhou Hao's back. Zhou Hao immediately fell from the sky and crashed into the hill like a meteorite. The trees were broken and a big hole appeared on the mountainside. The impact force caused the hill to tremble slightly. Boss. In the car in the distance, Lei Hu saw that Zhou Hao was shot down by Mohandas. He immediately shouted anxiously and wanted to get off the car to help him, but Zhao Yuqin held his shoulder from behind. Zhao Yuqin stared deeply at the hill where Zhou Hao fell and said in a deep voice, "Don't be impulsive. We have to have confidence in Xiao Hao. If we go out so rashly, it will only become Xiao Hao's burden." At the critical moment, Zhao Yuqin was a girl, but she was calmer and calmer than Lei Hu, who had experienced the smoke of war. In fact, she had tried to call Zhao Dingzhou just now, hoping that Zhao Dingzhou could send troops or people from the First Army to prevent any accidents. However, Zhao Yuqin found that she could not make the call. Although she did not see the village in front of her, she did not see the shop, and she was in between 2 hills. However, the geographical location was not as remote and dangerous as those deep mountains and forests. Furthermore, Zhao Yuqin's phone number was specially made by the military, so even if she was on Earth, she could still make a call. Clearly, there were people in the vicinity who used special instruments to interfere with the signal of the phone, preventing Zhao Yuqin and the others from contacting the outside. Zhao Yuqin almost immediately targeted the Ambani family behind Mohandas. As the daughter of the Zhao family, Zhao Yuqin knew a lot of insider information that no one could come into contact with. The attitude of the Ambani, the #1 family in India, had always been very unfriendly towards China. The Ambani family played a very important role in the dispute at the border of China. It could be said that they were the biggest pushover behind the Indian government. Amban, this grudge is settled, Zhao Yuqin said angrily in her heart. Originally, they had provoked Zhao Yuqin herself, and she could still swallow her anger with the bigger picture in mind. But now the other party was obviously going to deal with Zhou Hao. This had provoked the most critical reverse scale in Zhao Yuqin's heart. Looking at the rising dust on the hill, Zhao Yuqin was very worried. Although she comforted Lei Hu and made him have confidence in Zhou Hao, she was actually very worried about Zhou Hao, because even if Zhou Hao suffered any harm, she would not want to see it happen. At this time, a figure rushed out of the hill, bringing out a large cloud of dust and flying towards Mohandas. Although she could not see his face clearly, Zhao Yuqin could guess that it must be Zhou Hao. She heaved a long sigh of relief in her heart. In Mohandas's eyes, Zhou Hao was not the only one flying towards him. There were also the 5 white tigers behind Zhou Hao. They surrounded him and attacked the evil god above his head. When they got close to him, the 5 white tigers suddenly disappeared and turned into 5 huge swords with yellow chi lingering around them. It was as if they were going to cut open the void. Brahma's Buddha suppression seal. The evil god above Mohandas's head roared. It waved its 6 arms and created a huge net that covered the sky and earth. It then turned into a swastika Buddha seal in the air. Zhou Hao's eyes sparkled when he saw the huge swastika Buddha seal. He finally understood that the thing that made him unable to move in an instant, as if he was trapped in time and space, was the great Brahma Buddha guarding seal casted by Mohandas. The principle behind it was to suppress the enemy's mind, causing the enemy's body to be unable to move, allowing Mohandas to succeed in one strike. "I don't care what kind of Buddha seal you have, break it for me," Zhou Hao shouted loudly. He opened his 10 fingers and shot out a powerful finger chi. The 5 huge swords formed by the white tigers charged at Mohandas even more fiercely. The 5 huge swords merged into one in an instant, turning into a simple and ancient long sword. It carried a frightening whistling sound as it pierced through the rotating swastika Buddha seal, causing it to disappear without a trace. The 10 finger chis that Zhou Hao shot out also merged into a strand of sword chi the size of a strand of hair in the air, heading straight for Mohandas's chest. Chi. The tiny sword chi suddenly pierced through Mohandas's chest. At first, Mohandas felt a chill gradually spreading from the spot on his chest. After that, he felt a sharp pain all over his body, as if he had been pierced by countless sharp swords. The genuine aura in his body was also stimulated to the point that it dispersed and could no longer be condensed. The evil god that Mohandas had condensed had already been cut into pieces by Zhou Hao's huge sword. Arg! Countless hair-sized holes suddenly appeared on Mohandas's body, and blood spurted out from them. His 2-meter-tall muscular body also quickly shrunk, and finally returned to his original thin appearance. His expression also became a lot more serious. When he fell back to the ground from the sky, Mohandas's entire body seemed to have been drained of strength, and he suddenly fell to his knees. Zhou Hao's attack just now had already severely injured him, especially the 8 extraordinary meridians. It was even worse than Yu Zhongning's injury after being severely injured by Zhou Hao's sword chi. Zhou Hao landed lightly on the ground with one hand behind his back, staring coldly at Mohandas. To Zhou Hao, Mohandas was indeed a rare opponent. In terms of strength and cultivation base, Mohandas was a rare opponent. Mohandas might not be as good as Big Boss and Taro, but his Buddhist guarding Buddhist scripture was very strange. Zhou Hao was the one who answered the question of the Brahma's guarding Buddhist seal just now. Although Mohandas's Buddhist scripture of Brahma's sky was powerful, Zhou Hao's White Tiger 5 Emperor sword was also terrifyingly powerful. The sword chi from it could be said to be indestructible, instantly shattering the Buddhist seal of Brahma's sky. "How dare you provoke my China's fighter? This is your outcome." Zhou Hao's will transform into form had already faded away, but the chi on his body was still there, giving people a tremendous pressure. These words were like the evening drum and morning bell, causing Mohandas's eardrums to hurt. He. Mohandas grinned and smiled. Don't think that I will admit defeat just because I am like this. Besides, in my country's martial arts world, I am not the strongest. Even if you defeat me, it doesn't mean that your China has defeated our Indian martial arts. Also, I have already witnessed your killing move. As long as I have enough time, I will be able to think of a way to restrain you. At that time, I will still be able to defeat you. Do you think you still have a chance to make a comeback? Do you think I will give you this chance? Taro the Wind Fiend had already fled in front of Zhou Hao and Li Tsongyun. This time, Zhou Hao would never allow Mohandas to escape and become a future threat. However, as soon as Zhou Hao finished speaking, he suddenly saw 4 missiles flying towards him from a distant hill. There were also 2 missiles flying towards Zhao Yuqin and Lei Hu's cars. Zhou Hao was shocked. He was not afraid of these missiles, but Zhao Yuqin's car could not take it. So he did not care about anything else and rushed towards Zhao Yuqin. Those missiles obviously had an automatic tracking system that could follow the target and chase after Zhou Hao. In the blink of an eye, Zhou Hao appeared in front of Zhao Yuqin and Lei Hu's off-road vehicle. He thrust his hands into the ground and lifted up the entire ground in front of them. 2. The 6 missiles also attacked at the same time and hit the ground that Zhou Hao had lifted up. Boom! The strong shock wave sent Zhou Hao flying. The off-road vehicle rolled a few times and rolled far away. The glass and windows were broken. The modified vehicle was slightly deformed, but the damage was not serious. Zhao Yuqin and Lei Hu were not in any big trouble. Looking at Mohandas's side again, there was no trace of him. He had long disappeared without a trace. Zhou Hao was very surprised by the enemy's attack. He blamed himself for being careless. He had focused all his attention on Mohandas just now, but he didn't notice that there were other people lying in ambush nearby. At this time, he did not care about Mohandas who had run away. He quickly turned the overturned car over and pulled off the door that could not be opened due to the deformation. He let Zhao Yuqin and Lei Hu, who were dizzy inside, walk out of the car. Big sister, Ahu, are you guys alright? Zhou Hao supported Zhao Yuqin, nervously checking if she was hurt. Zhao Yuqin rubbed her head and frowned. I'm not hurt. It was just that I touched my head just now. It was very painful. Lei Hu also patted the miscellaneous items on his body. Boss, I'm fine too. But those seemed to be earth-to-ground missiles just now. The destructive force was concentrated and shocking. Zhao Yuqin asked, those should be the people of the Ambin family. Ahu, are those missiles all made by India? Lei Hu circled around a few times and carefully observed a few fragments of the missiles. He shook his head and said, the records on them have all been erased. The manufacturing site and model cannot be seen. However, India should not be able to produce this kind of missile. I estimate that it is a model produced by Germany or Russia. Is it possible that it's a self-made model from our country? Zhou Hao asked. He remembered that China's earth-to-ground missile technology was very advanced. Lei Hu and Zhao Yuqin looked at each other and shook their heads at the same time to deny it. Zhao Yuqin explained, the possibility is very small because our country has very strict control over weapons, especially military weapons. Compared to that, it is easier to smuggle weapons from foreign countries. Zhou Hao shook his head and said angrily, no matter where these weapons come from, those Indians dare to be so unscrupulous in our territory. We can't let them go. Zhao Yuqin and Lei Hu both agreed. Zhao Yuqin took out the military phone from the car and dialed Zhao Dingzhou's number again. All of Ambani's men had left, so there was no longer any signal interference. Zhao Yuqin quickly contacted Zhao Dingzhou. After Zhao Dingzhou found out that his sister and Zhou Hao were attacked in Xiamen, he was furious. On one hand, he sent people to chase Zhou Hao and the others. On the other hand, he secretly implemented military control in Xiamen to capture the people from the Ambani family. Because the engine and tires of the car were broken, Zhou Hao and the others could only stay here and wait for reinforcements. Underworld King Cup. The bomb shelter already had military personnel. Once they received Zhao Dingzhou's order, they immediately sent people over. There was also a special rescue team. To Zhou Hao's surprise, the leader of the reinforcement team was the man surnamed Wu who wanted to recruit Zhang Daniyu into the army. When the man surnamed Wu saw Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin, he understood that they were the people Zhao Dingzhou had mentioned. The expression on his face changed. However, he responded very quickly and showed a warm smile to Zhou Hao and the others. So the two of you are the younger brother and sister of our military chief. I have offended you just now. As a member of the military, he knew very well how powerful the Zhao family was in the military. He never thought that Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin were the daughters and foster sons of the old man of the Zhao family. He thought that if the other party bore a grudge against him, his future would probably end here. It's fine. Zhou Hao didn't want to argue with this person. What he cared about the most was the situation of the Ambani family. The noble son who was with Mohandas at the venue of the Underworld King Cup should be a member of the Ambani family. Zhou Hao asked, Mr. Wu, are the people of the Ambani family still in the venue? Mr. Wu said with a solemn expression. When we received the order from the chief, our people immediately monitored the venue and went straight in and out. They were also searching the surroundings with the venue as the center, but they knew that up until now, they had not found those people from the Barney family. Lei Hu did not have much hope for this and said, Xiamen is near the sea. I'm afraid those guys have already gone out to sea a long time ago. Zhou Hao nodded secretly. If they had planned this beforehand, they would definitely have prepared a way out. It was already very difficult to find them now. He was also glad that Zhang Daniyu didn't come with him. Otherwise, his injuries would have been even worse. After this incident, Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin did not have the mood to stay in Xiamen anymore. They immediately took the military transport back to the military headquarters in Guangzhou and saw him in Zhao Dingzhou's mansion in the military compound. Zhang Daniyu also went to the Air Force hospital to receive treatment. Yuqin, Xiao Hao, are you all okay? Zhao Dingzhou was very nervous about the two of them. If the old man knew that Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin had an accident in his territory, Zhao Dingzhou would definitely scold them. Don't worry, big brother. My sister and I are fine. Zhou Hao smiled and said, the most important thing right now is to find those B** stars from the Ambani family. Zhao Yuqin also pouted and said, brother, you are too dishonest. You also have a part in that Underworld King Cup, right? Humph, there was no leak at all. Also, gambling on the periphery of the Underworld King Cup is so profitable. You still dare to ask me to ask Sky River to donate some military funds to you? To think that you are the big brother of Xiao Hao and I. Zhao Dingzhou saw that she had exposed him in front of Zhou Hao and could not help saying awkwardly, I saw that your Heavenly River is very popular, so I want you to sponsor it. As for the matter of the Underworld King Cup, I'm not the only one in charge of it, or the Guangzhou military region. It's mainly planned by the military commission. At most, we're just a subordinate. As for the gambling money, most of it is still handed over. We can't keep much of it here. Less. Oh, right. I've already sent the Navy from the military to hunt down those people from the Barney clan, but there's still no news of them. Zhou Hao did not mind Zhao Dingzhou changing the topic. He said, big brother, those people who went to watch the competition at the Underworld King Cup are all famous fierce people internationally. You should not let those people walk around randomly, right? Of course. We have arranged for people to secretly monitor every one of them. We also forbid them from leaving the territory of Xiamen. I contacted the group responsible for keeping an eye on the Barney family just now, Zhao Dingzhou said. They said that they lost the trace of the Barney family 20 minutes ago. Zhou Hao thought for a moment and said, those guys were indeed premeditated. Oh, right. The National Security Department was too careless. They actually let Barney's people carry heavy weapons like ground-to-ground missiles. That's right. I've already sent someone to report this matter to the National Security Headquarters. They said they would investigate it thoroughly. Zhao Dingzhou said, Xiao Hao, is that Indian called Mohandas really as powerful as Big Boss and Takitsubu Fingma? Zhou Hao nodded. Even if it can't be compared to it, it's not far from it. It belongs to the same level of experts. I also suffered some internal injuries when I fought him just now. However, he was also seriously injured by me. I won't be able to fully recover without a year or two. Zhao Yuqin immediately walked over when she heard Zhou Hao's words. You be *starred. Why didn't you tell your sister that you were injured? Zhou Hao was afraid that Zhao Dingzhou would find out his true relationship with Zhao Yuqin, so he hurriedly smiled and said, actually, it's not a big deal. It's just like catching a cold. You will recover by yourself in a few days. Zhao Yuqin heaved a sigh of relief. You pointed at Zhou Hao's forehead. You just don't make people feel comfortable. After staying in Guangzhou for a few days and making sure that Zhou Hao was fine, Zhao Yuqin returned to Beijing. At the same time, she told Zhao Rixin about the Ambani family and asked the country to strengthen their defense against India. With Zhou Hao's help, Zhang Daniyu also recovered very quickly, but Zhou Hao still did not let him walk around and ordered him to rest at home. As for the Yu Zhengning that Zhou Hao admired, Zhou Hao had a certain understanding from Zhao Dingzhou. Yu Zhengning was an orphan without parents. When he was 5 years old, he was brought out from a beggar group by an elder of the Hongmin sect and kept in the Hongmin sect. Later on, Yu Zhengning's astonishing talent in martial arts shocked the Hongmin sect. From then on, the master of the Hongmin sect and all the elders tried their best to teach Yu Zhengning, hoping that he could become the most outstanding disciple since the establishment of the Hongmin sect. Because of the close relationship between Hong sect and the military, Yu Zhengning was highly regarded by the military. Now, he was working in a certain department of First Army. If it was a specific ranking, Yu Zhongning's position in the First Army was around 89. He was under Li Shuihan, Zhu Shoujing, and the other 4 leaders. But with Yu Zhongning's age of 21, this was already a very outstanding performance. Regarding the fact that Zhou Hao had saved Yu Zhongning's life, Yu Zhongning originally wanted to personally thank Zhou Hao. Because his injuries had yet to recover, he couldn't walk around. Furthermore, Zhou Hao didn't ask for anything in return, so he didn't ask him to come over. When they returned to Xiang City, Yining Middle School was already preparing for the midterm exam. The classmates in the class were already used to Zhou Hao, who was elusive and elusive. Only Wang Shijuan and Situ Jianying were very excited. Every day, Zhou Hao accompanied Zhou Hao to sit in the last row of the classroom. Because no one saw him, he often did intimate little things with Zhou Hao, which made Zhou Hao feel very comfortable. However, after staying in Xiang City for a period of time, Zhou Hao was going to Hong Kong again, because George Soros's class of financial tycoons were attacking Hong Kong's financial market more and more frequently. The financial war between Hong Kong and the International Investment Group in his previous life was getting closer and closer. Drip, drip, drip. The spacious and comfortable room was flowing with gentle pure music. It was the Bandarui band Sunshine Coast. The music was mixed with the crisp sound of keyboard tapping. Zhou Hao sat in front of his desk and quickly typed in all kinds of data on the computer screen. At this time, his personal computer had already developed to a relatively high level and was able to satisfy most of the text and digital analysis. And now, Zhou Hao had formulated his next plan based on the memory of the financial war in Hong Kong in his previous life. The date of the financial storm in Asia was July 1997, which happened to be the time when Hong Kong returned to its motherland. The place where the storm broke out was Thailand. After that, it spread across the entire Asia at an extremely fast speed. Japan and Korea, which had a more developed economy, were inevitably caught up in it. After returning to Hong Kong, although Hong Kong was also greatly affected, it was not directly affected by the storm. However, when this financial storm ravaged the financial markets of Southeast Asia, some speculators tried to test Hong Kong on a small scale. By October 1997, the scale of the international venture into Hong Kong's financial market had increased significantly. Although these international speculators were limited in their own scale, through the leverage effect, the amount of funds they could bring along was enormous. According to statistics, every day in the international capital market, liquid investment funds, which was also known as hot money, exceeded 1 trillion, a total of more than 7 trillion. The scale of the speculators attacking the Hong Kong financial market caused Hong Kong Bank to rapidly increase their investment rates. The Hang Seng Index and Futures Index plummeted, allowing those speculators to return with full returns. After that, these greedy wolves sniped Hong Kong's currency several times, using the interaction between the foreign exchange market, stock market, and futures market to make a large number of investments. They greedily plundered Hong Kong's money and arrogantly made Hong Kong their super ATM. This situation happened again and again in January to May 1998. The speculators' actions in Hong Kong were very fruitful, causing the Western public to make jokes. Once the speculators were short of money, they only needed to press a few buttons on the super ATM in Hong Kong. During this period of time, the news from the Galaxy and the various media outlets in Hong Kong had all returned. They had made a detailed report on this situation. Zhou Hao also knew that the real big waves had not arrived yet. In August of this year, George Soros and Julian had arrived. Robert and the rest would lead a large number of speculators to launch a real attack on Hong Kong, officially declaring war on Hong Kong. At that time, the investment group led by George Soros in Hong Kong, which had the backing of China's huge foreign exchange reserves, would start a war that would draw a heavy line in the world's financial history. It involved hundreds of billions of dollars, which was even more than the money invested in the financial storm in Southeast Asia. Due to the focus of this great war of the century and the far-reaching influence it had on the world's financial market, when Zhou Hao was studying at Fudan University in his past life, he had a research project that lasted for the entire semester, and the subject of his research was this great financial war. Therefore, Zhou Hao knew every specific strategy and step of that financial war like the back of his hand. He had also done a detailed analysis of the results and effects of each decision made by both sides. He could even compile a textbook. Zhou Hao had now turned the various data that he had memorized into words and numbers and made them into concrete and feasible data. He did not want to force himself to be able to influence this global financial war, but he also wanted to fish in troubled waters. Of course, he would be touching the enemy's fish and contribute some strength to his motherland. At the same time, he would also slaughter those arrogant alligators. He would be satisfied. The main reason why he could not control the situation at will was that he could not control the situation at will. Another reason was that Zhou Hao had invested most of his funds into Russia. In 1998, a serious financial storm broke out in Russia. In August, the Central Bank of Russia announced that within the year, the ruble exchange rate would increase to a maximum of 9.51, and it would delay the repayment of foreign debts and suspend the transaction of bonds. In September 1998, the ruble depreciated by 70%, causing the Russian stock market and the exchange market to fall rapidly, leading to economic and political crises. It was precisely because of Russia's economic crisis that caused the international speculators who had invested a large amount of money to suffer a huge blow that they indirectly delayed the attack of these speculators on Hong Kong, making it difficult for both sides to deal with them. In the end, they suffered a crushing defeat. Russia would become a nightmare for those international speculators, but for Zhou Hao, it was another wonderful opportunity to profit. Just like what happened to South Korea and Indonesia, after the matter in Indonesia ended, Zhou Hao immediately invested large amounts of funds into Russia. He borrowed large amounts of rubles from the Central Bank of Russia and various powerful financial institutions, and also placed a foreshadowing of the exchange and stock market, waiting for an opportunity to make a move. However, the financial crisis of Russia this time was largely caused by the political crisis. Faced with the change of government, the government was very sensitive to all kinds of situations. A single mistake could cause a very serious chain effect. Therefore, Zhou Hao did not dare to directly invest in the Russian financial market through the galaxy. Instead, he went through a few shells. In the end, he used the names of a few German and British energy companies to invest. He did not want the Russian government, which was deeply affected by the economic crisis in the future, to be angry and take revenge on the galaxy. He even used the connection between the galaxy and the central government to expand international disputes. Beep, beep, beep. Zhou Hao's speed was very fast. The data on the monitor was flashing in his bright eyes. To produce this proposal for the Hong Kong financial war, it was actually similar to the research report that Zhou Hao had produced in his previous life. However, his current equipment was much better. In his previous life, when he was in university, although the school had just installed a computer room, it had been monopolized by the relatives and children of the school leaders and instructors, and Zhou Hao was too shy to use the computer. Therefore, the data of the research report was all calculated by him using a small 10-level computer. Although this computer was not as advanced as the dual-core, 4-core, or even 6-core computers in the future, it was still much better than those small solar computers. Zhou Hao was able to do it with ease. At this moment, the door was gently pushed open, and Wang Shijuan walked in with a tray. On the tray was a cup of fragrant milk tea and a delicate black forest cake. Wang Shijuan was also dressed very casually. It was a set of Mickey Mouse yellow pajamas which made her look very cute. "What are you doing?" Coming to Zhou Hao's side, Wang Shijuan curiously looked at the lines of complex and incomprehensible data on the monitor. She only felt that it was very difficult to understand. Her eyes were blurred. "You are doing mathematics homework? But these diagrams, I don't think I have seen them before." "Hee, these are just analysis diagrams for price evolution models. Ordinary people rarely use them." Zhou Hao smiled and picked up the cup of milk tea and took a sip. He knew Wang Shijuan was not good at science, so he did not explain too deeply. This milk tea smells so good. Shijuan, did you make it?" Zhou Hao asked. Wang Shijuan's face turned slightly red as she nodded her head and said shyly, "Do you like it? I poured quite a bit of milk. Wouldn't the taste of the milk be too strong? Also, don't you think it's too sweet?" "Yeah, it's too sweet." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "The milk tea Shijuan personally brewed for me is so sweet that it reaches my heart." Wang Shijuan originally thought that Zhou Hao did not like to drink it, but when she heard his last sentence, even her neck started to heat up and she lowered her head. She said softly, This black forest cake was sent over by the people in the romantic house earlier. I put it in the snow cabinet and froze it. Try it and see if it tastes good." Zhou Hao naturally knew that this cake was not made by Wang Shijuan. Although her culinary skills were good, to make this kind of extremely difficult artistic cake, it would not be possible without a few years of hard work. However, Wang Shijuan's intention to prepare supper for him also made Zhou Hao very moved. Especially when he saw this little girl's innocent and shy appearance, Zhou Hao's heart could not help but ripple. He held Wang Shijuan's jade-like little hand and pulled her into his embrace. Then he dipped his finger into the chocolate milk of the black forest cake and gently rubbed Wang Shijuan's cherry lips. What is it?" Wang Shijuan, who was curled up in Zhou Hao's arms, felt a burst of softness. She was also puzzled when she saw him rub the chocolate on her lips. Hee, it's dessert. Zhou Hao smiled ambiguously. Just when Wang Shijuan was confused, Zhou Hao lowered his head and kissed her two soft lips. He carefully licked the chocolate on it and felt that it was soft, fragrant, and not intoxicating. Wang Shijuan did not expect Zhou Hao to eat dessert like this. She was also stunned for a moment, but in the end, she also fell into Zhou Hao's arms. She only wanted him to eat her whole body. Just like that, Zhou Hao smeared the chocolate and cream of the cake on Wang Shijuan's lips and even her tongue over and over again, and then he tasted it himself. This supper was very charming and sexy. When Wang Shijuan finally recovered from her infatuation, she found that her shirt had been mostly undone by Zhou Hao. Even the white shirt inside had been pushed up and exposed in front of Zhou Hao. Wang Shijuan shyly covered her breasts and said to Zhou Hao, "I forgot to tell you. Aunt Tong just called back and said that a relative from Hong Kong will come to visit you." Yin Tong and Yin Qingqing had been traveling around the major cities of the country with the Tongguang Food Company's proposals during this period of time. On the one hand, they were inspecting the operations of the various branches. On the other hand, they were also looking at the market prospects of the second-tier cities that had yet to be established. They wanted to pave the way for the development of the Tongguang. On the other hand, Lu Shiping was left to guard the headquarters of Xiang City. They were currently walking to Xi'an, and it would take them another month to return to Xiang City. Zhou Hao let the delicate Wang Shijuan sit on his lap. As he caressed her snow-white skin, he asked, "Relatives from Hong Kong? Do we have relatives in Hong Kong? Why didn't Mom tell me?" Wang Shijuan, who was shy by nature, felt weak all over when Zhou Hao touched her. She did not dare to stop Zhou Hao and said in a huff, "Aunt Tong said that is your grandfather's younger brother. You should call him uncle." Zhou Hao's hand gently played with the bamboo shoots-sized chili milk on Wang Shijuan's chest. However, he said in a low voice, "Uncle, does my grandfather still have a younger brother?" He never mentioned it to his grandmother before. His grandfather's name was Zhou Qiliang. During the war, in order to avoid war, he fled to Malaysia. At that time, Zhou Qiliang was only 10 years old. It was not until the early 1960s that Zhou Qiliang, who was in his 20s, returned to Zhou village and married Zhou Hao's grandmother. After that, he gave birth to Zhou Liren and Zhou Lichang, who were also Zhou Hao's father and uncle. However, when Zhou Hao was 5 or 6 years old, both his grandfather and grandmother passed away due to illness, so Zhou Hao's impression of them was very vague. He only vaguely remembered that his grandfather Zhou Qiliang was an outgoing and optimistic honest man, while his grandmother Du Jiahao was a typical rural woman and was also very hardworking and kind. His grandfather and grandmother were all very kind people. Zhou Hao did not understand why their two sons were so selfish and immoral. Since young, their grandparents, Zhou Lichang and Yin Tong, had never mentioned that Zhou Hao had a granduncle in Hong Kong. So now, a granduncle suddenly appeared out of nowhere, which made Zhou Hao feel very strange. Who is this great uncle? Why didn't he come here before? Zhou Hao was very puzzled. Even in his previous life, that so-called great uncle had never appeared. Therefore, he was very suspicious about this. "Let's call Mom and ask her personally." So Zhou Hao dialed Yin Tong's number. Wang Shijuan, who was sitting on his lap, suddenly trembled and was about to cry out because Zhou Hao's devil hand had slipped between her legs, recklessly teasing that sensitive place. However, Zhou Hao made a silent mouth gesture at her. Wang Shijuan immediately bit her lower lip and did not dare to make a sound. She was also afraid that Yin Tong would hear from the other side of the phone. Her entire body was limp as she lay in Zhou Hao's arms. Her two legs kept grinding. "Mom, have you had dinner yet?" Zhou Hao flirted with Yin Tong as if nothing had happened while he was taking advantage of the porcelain man in his arms. "You called and said that a granduncle came back from Hong Kong to visit us. What's going on?" Yin Tong asked. "Why did a great uncle suddenly appear?" "I never knew. Actually, your grandfather does have a younger brother called Zhou Qiao. He also followed your grandfather to the Southern Ocean to take refuge there." Yin Tong explained to Zhou Hao. "But he did not return to Xiang City with your grandfather. He went to Hong Kong instead. After that, he seldom contacted your grandfather. However, I heard that he made a fortune from his business in Hong Kong and married a Hong Kong lady. Maybe it's because Hong Kong has returned. He came back to take a look. It was your uncle who informed me about this." Zhou Hao frowned. "Then why didn't you tell me anything about this uncle?" "This?" Yin Tong looked hesitant. Actually, even if you didn't tell me, I would have guessed what was going on." Zhou Hao suddenly laughed. Yin Tong, who was on the other side of the phone, was stunned for a moment. Then she said, "Your uncle said that your uncle would probably go to Xiang City in the next 2 days. I haven't finished my business here, so I won't go back with Qingqing. Take good care of your uncle. No matter what, he is still our elder. After instructing Zhou Hao, Yin Tong hung up the phone. On the other side, Zhou Hao revealed a cold smile. Even if Yin Tong didn't say it, Zhou Hao could guess the reason behind it. That Zhou Qiao probably wasn't a righteous person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone straight to Hong Kong without even returning to his hometown, and didn't even contact his elder brother in the country. Zhou Hao knew that his grandfather had just returned to Siang City from Malaysia, and his life had been very tough. It was not only because he wanted to start from scratch, but also because the people of the same village ostracized his grandfather. At that time, there was a bully in Zhou village who often bullied his grandfather. He even made someone break his grandfather's left leg, causing his grandfather to become a cripple. During the few years when Zhou Liren and Zhou Lichang were just born, the family still lived a life of hunger and suffering. It was really dangerous to starve to death. Fortunately, Zhou Qiliang and Du Jiahao gritted their teeth and tightened their pants. They finally made it through, but it was also because of this that both of them fell ill and became the main cause of their death in the future. At that time, Zhou Qiao should have had a certain foundation in Hong Kong. Even if he hadn't made a fortune yet, at least he wouldn't have any problems with food and clothing. However, he didn't care about Zhou Qiliang, who was suffering in the most dire situation in the country. He didn't provide any help at all. Zhou Hao guessed that Zhou Qiliang should have asked Zhou Qiao for help at that time. Zhou Qiliang would definitely do the same for the two children. However, Zhou Qiao was obviously not satisfied with Zhou Qiliang's help, which was why Zhou Qiliang did not mention his brother anymore. It was fine if he did not want it. Zhou Hao didn't understand why Zhou Qiao would come back at this time. Yin Tong had guessed that Zhou Qiao wanted to come back and take a look because he had returned to Hong Kong, but Zhou Hao didn't think so. Even when they had not returned to Hong Kong did not prohibit people from returning. Instead, Hong Kong had very strict regulations in Hong Kong. Therefore, if Zhou Qiao really wanted to return, it was not an excuse for him to not return. Furthermore, when Zhou Qiliang and Du Jihua died of illness and were buried, Zhou Qiao did not return either. Therefore, although Zhou Hao hadn't met his great-uncle yet, Hong Long, could it be that he knows that the environment in our family has improved? That's why he came to see us, right? Zhou Hao guessed in his heart. He couldn't blame Zhou Hao for thinking this way. Putting aside the astronomical amount of money Zhou Hao had, the Tongguang Food Company under Yin Tong's name was also a large company with billions of RMB in assets. Even Zhou Lichang had a net worth of tens of millions. He was a famous tycoon in Zhou Village and even Siang City. As the saying goes, no one asks about the poor houses in the busy city. The rich have distant relatives in the deep mountains. For a person like Zhou Qiao, who forgets his own interest for profit, it was hard to guarantee that he would not have the same idea as Zhou Lichang about the Tongguang's food and beverage company. Since he made a fortune in Hong Kong, then he shouldn't be a lonely and unknown person in Hong Kong. Zhou Hao muttered to himself, then dialed Song Jiahao's number in Hong Kong. Jiahao, help me investigate a person called Zhou Qiao. He's about 70 years old and migrated from Malaysia to Hong Kong in the 1960s. Okay, boss. I'll send you a message tomorrow morning. Song Jiahao replied respectfully. After ending the call, Zhou Hao sneered and said, then I'll take a good look at what an elder like you want to do here. Zhou Hao. Wang Shijuan, who was in her arms, trembled and called Zhou Hao with a sobbing voice. When Zhou Hao came back to his senses, he saw Wang Shijuan's face was red. Her whole body was stuck in his arms. She was still breathing heavily. Her small hands were tightly holding Zhou Hao's clothes. Her face looked like she was enduring it. It was very lovable. It turned out that Zhou Hao had been taking advantage of Wang Shijuan's peach origin with his right hand ever since he spoke to Yin Tong on the phone. Later on, he thought about Zhou Qiao's matter, but his hand did not stop moving. Instead, he unconsciously went deeper and deeper, causing Wang Shijuan, who was unconscious and did not dare to make a sound, to be tormented badly. Looking at Wang Shijuan's aggrieved appearance, Zhou Hao felt pity for her. He moved closer to her ear and asked, Shijuan, Aunt Ping is not coming back today, right? Mom went to Guangzhou to do some work. Only Zhongcai and I are at home. Wang Shijuan pursed her lips and said. Zhou Hao happily picked Wang Shijuan up. Ha ha ha, we haven't slept together in a long time, right? Today is a good day to revisit. But Zhongcai is not young anymore. Could it be that he can't live without you as his elder sister? I think he is still playing the game. Zhou Hao smiled and hugged Wang Shijuan as he fell on the bed. Don't worry. I said I will not eat you before you turn 18. I will not do anything tonight. I will hug you and sleep like this. Really? You didn't do anything bad? Wang Shijuan said timidly. She looked like a frightened little rabbit, which was really lovable. Zhou Hao couldn't help but kiss her fragrant face. Don't worry, I'm not really a big bad wolf. Zhou Hao did not plan to eat Wang Shijuan because Wang Shijuan was different from Situ Jianying, who had matured early in her body and mind. Her jade body was not much more mature than Yun Er, who was 12 or 13 years old. She was just like a delicate flower, making people not want to hurt her. However, Wang Shijuan was also very attractive to Zhou Hao. Therefore, there was no shortage of kissing and touching. Wang Shijuan was shy and did not dare to stop Zhou Hao at all. She let this big bad wolf invade step by step and let the two of them have a very restless and warm night. The next day, Zhou Hao, who was hugging Wang Shijuan, who was like cotton and sleeping very comfortably, was woken up by the ringing of a phone. It was Song Jiahao. Boss, I have already found the Zhou Qiao you asked me to investigate. I have sent the detailed information to your email. Right. I have made an investment plan. I will send it to you as well. You and Willie Worth, study it carefully. That plan has my prediction of Hong Kong's financial market for the next few months. Find me if you have any problems after reading it. Zhou Hao carefully put Wang Shijuan, who was resting on his arm, on the bed. He then got up and turned on the computer. He also saw the email sent by Song Jiahao. The information also included photos of Zhou Qiao and his family. In the photos, Zhou Qiao's hair was white but meticulously combed. There were a few old spots on his loose skin and face. His eye bags were very big. Just like that, he looked like an ordinary 70-year-old man. However, the expensive suit he wore made him look very rich. According to the information sent by Song Jiahao, Zhou Qiao immigrated to Hong Kong in 1962. At first, he worked as a handyman in a foreign business. After some hard work, he slowly climbed to the position of manager. However, that foreign business just happened to close down due to bad management. Therefore, Zhou Qiao used all his savings to open a small garment factory. After a few years of hard work, Zhou Qiao's factory expanded several times and became the first batch of wealthy people in Hong Kong. At the same time, the 35-year-old Zhou Qiao married Guan Jizai, the young lady from Hong Kong, and gave birth to his only son, Zhou Lipo. After that, Zhou Qiao predicted that the light industry in Hong Kong would develop rapidly. From clothing processing to toy production, it would be sold to Southeast Asia and even Europe. It would gradually become a giant in the toy industry in Hong Kong. Now, he had accumulated 2 billion HKD worth of wealth. Zhou Qiao did not have any similarities with Zhou Qiliang in Zhou Hao's impression. If he did not know the inside story, no one would have thought that Zhou Qiliang would have such a rich younger brother. He also had a 17-year-old grandson called Zhou Zi. From the information he had, although this Zhou Zi, who was born with a gold key, was not a hedonistic young master, he was still a typical pampered son of a rich family. When Zhou Hao thought about how Zhou Qiao had been living a prosperous life, and how his grandfather, who had lived a poor life, had died of illness due to work, he felt extremely unbalanced in his heart. Back then, even if Zhou Qiao had given Zhou Qiliang some help, perhaps Zhou Qiliang would not have ended up like that. Therefore, Zhou Hao planned to have a meal with Zhou Qiao after he arrived to show the courtesy of a junior. Although the other party was ruthless, he could not be rude. However, after being polite, the river would no longer violate the well. Zhou Hao had no interest in them. Of course, if Zhou Qiao came for the Tongguang Food Company, Zhou Hao wouldn't be able to avoid teaching him a lesson. When he returned to school with Wang Shijuan, Zhou Hao's mood was lifted when he saw the lively and verdant campus. Now he was more and more harmonized with the school. After entering high school, Zhou Hao did not have half a semester to go to school. He came to school today purely because he wanted to take a vacation. On the other hand, it was also to relive his youth life. In his previous life, he only cared about studying and was basically a study machine. He did not have the free time to enjoy real school life. As usual, Situ Jianying had been waiting for him, and Wang Shijuan at the school gate early in the morning. Then the three of them went in together and took a big stroll around the campus before returning to the classroom. Zhou Hao had already done the ideological work for Situ Jianying and Wang Shijuan previously. Wang Shijuan liked literature and was not good at science subjects. Situ Jianying loved art and was not interested in other subjects. If it was an ordinary student, such a serious deviation would be very dangerous. However, with Zhou Hao's ability, he could totally let them fulfill their dreams and study in the direction that they liked. It was not difficult for the two girls at all. Therefore, Wang Shijuan did not have to worry about her specialties anymore. She followed her interests to learn literature knowledge, and Situ Jianying did not have to worry about it. As soon as class started, she held the manga book and read it with great interest. Zhou Hao had also informed the school. so no one forced Wang Shijuan and Situ Jianying to do so because of the problem of their grades. Alright, quiet down. Today is the day the midterm exam results are announced. Li Rulin, the form teacher, said as she stood on the stage. She glanced at Zhou Hao and the other two in the back of the classroom and showed a look of reproach. When they heard that the midterm exam results were going to be announced today, the students below howled in grief. Lu Shichao, who was sitting in front of Zhou Hao, also said with a bitter face, "It's so bad. My physics this time is very bad. I don't know how many points I can get." Luo Hui, who was beside him, glared at him. "You know it's bad, right? I told you to study hard. It's better now." Looking at the pair of happy enemies in front of him, Zhou Hao secretly laughed. He felt that Lu Shichao and Luo Hui were really a match. Lu Shichao was not afraid of anyone. He was only afraid of Luo Hui, this little chilly. Then he heard Li Rulin announce the results according to the ranking. The third place in the class is Zhou Hao. He is ranked 28 in the entire grade. Wow. The class was in an uproar because Zhou Hao only came back to school 2 days before the midterm exam. Then he went to take the midterm exam as usual, and he actually got such a good result. Seeing that the classmates in the class admired and envied Zhou Hao, Li Rulin's lips curled up on the stage, and she felt proud in her heart. But when she saw Situ Jianying and Wang Shijuan doing small things with Zhou Hao behind her, she secretly cursed in her heart, "Gargoyle." In the end, the results of the entire class were announced. Lu Shichao was in the middle, which was already very good. After all, Yining Middle School was the best key high school in Xiang City, and it was also a key high school in the province. Almost all the top students in the city were gathered here. Although Wang Shijuan did not have good science subjects, she could still maintain her ranking in the middle by relying on her advantage. Situ Jianying was in a worse situation, because art was not a compulsory course and would not be included in the midterm exam results. This time, she was ranked 5th from the bottom of the class. Is there still justice? Situ Jianying held Zhou Hao's arm and said indignantly, "I have been revising for a week, but you only came to school after you had enough fun. It is not fair to be ranked 3rd after reading some books." Wang Shijuan also looked at him pitifully because she had also seriously revised. Zhou Hao smiled noncommittally. To him, the exam at this level was not difficult at all. At this moment, Zhou Hao's pocket vibrated. He took out his phone and found that it was Zhou Licheng's number. "Xiao Hao, are you free now?" Zhou Licheng said on the phone, "Your granduncle is here. Atong has told you about it." It was like this. "Second uncle wants to have a meal with our family. Our Run and Atong are not in Xiang City, so I want you to come and meet him. What do you think?" After Zhou Hao's warning, Zhou Licheng no longer dared to put on airs with Zhou Hao. "I'll go after school," Zhou Hao replied faintly. After school, Zhou Hao went home and changed his clothes. He drove to the Tianbin hotel he had promised Zhou Licheng. When he arrived at the luxurious suite on the top floor, Zhou Hao saw a table full of people waiting for him. In addition to Zhou Licheng's family, there were 3 men and 1 woman. The one with white hair and brown spots on his eyes and forehead was Zhou Qiyao. The other young man was about 16 or 17 years old, and his face was filled with impatience. He was the grandson of Zhou Qiyao, Zhou Zi. There was also the woman sitting beside Zhou Zi, who would occasionally add drinks and peel peanuts for him. She looked to be in her 30s. She had tan skin and high bones. She was actually a Filipino maid. Lastly, there was a middle-aged man in his 50s with a Mediterranean hairstyle. His belly was also big, but Zhou Hao did not recognize him. After Zhou Hao came in, Zhou Licheng and Su Yongwei quickly stood up and greeted Zhou Hao. They smiled warmly and said, "Xiao Hao, you are here?" "Uncle, Aunt." Zhou Hao nodded at the two of them. Zhou Qiyao and the others were still sitting there. Their eyes swept across Zhou Hao. Although they did not say anything, their faces were full of arrogance. Zhou Hao didn't like the way Zhou Qiyao looked at him. This was because when Zhou Hao's family was still suffering from poverty, Zhou Licheng and Su Yongwei had used this kind of gaze to look at him and Yen Tong. It was a typical example of looking down on others. But the current Zhou Hao was no longer the same as in the past. After experiencing so many things, he had become much more mature in treating others. He was even more mature than in his previous life. Therefore, in the face of Zhou Qiyao's eyes that clearly looked down on him, Zhou Hao didn't show any signs of surprise on his face. He walked straight to Zhou Qiyao and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "Hello, great uncle. You are the son of Arun, Zhou Hao?" Zhou Qiyao raised his eyebrows and looked at Zhou Hao. "Yes, I am." Zhou Qiyao suddenly slammed the table. He said coldly, "Is this how your mother taught you to treat your elders? As your uncle, it's fine if Arun and Atong are not here, but as a junior, it's fine if Arun and Atong are not here." You have the nerve to make so many of us wait for you? Aren't you being too arrogant? Zhou Hao frowned, but he didn't show any fear. He said calmly, I'm sorry, because I can only come after school. If there is anything wrong, please forgive me. It's so rare for me to come here. Can't you take a leave? Zhou Qiao snorted. It's true that there is no such thing as father and son. Initially, he did not intend to lower himself to his level. However, when he heard these words, his expression changed dramatically. There's no such thing as father and son. It was a common phrase in Cantonese. It meant that a person was uncultured. This sentence had a lot of negative meanings, and it was already an insult. For Zhou Hao, whose family was not healthy, this sentence hit his soft spot, and it was a great insult to Zhou Hao's mother, Yin Tong. Zhou Hao raised his eyebrows, and the murderous look on his face became stronger and stronger. Zhou Lichang, who knew Zhou Hao's background, felt that something was not right. He quickly stood up to smooth things over and said to Zhou Qiao with a smile, Second uncle, Xiao Hao is still a child after all. Don't blame him. Xiao Hao, no matter what, that is your elder. Quickly say sorry. As the saying goes, when you reach out your hand to hit a smiling person, don't hit him. Since Zhou Lichang had already spoken, Zhou Qiao no longer scolded him. Zhou Hao glanced at Zhou Lichang indifferently, causing Zhou Lichang to shiver in his heart. However, Zhou Hao didn't let his anger erupt. He said to Zhou Qiao, Great uncle, I'm sorry. It's my fault for being impolite. Zhou Qiao turned his head and snorted. Zhou Hao didn't pay any more attention to him. He turned around and sat down on the empty seat next to Zhou Lichang. Haha, Secretary Yin, our family's junior lacks manners. I'm sorry for making fun of you. Zhou Qiao turned his head and said to the baldy man with a smile. On the surface, he was apologizing to him, but in fact, he was mocking Zhou Hao. Secretary Yin also replied with a smile. It's fine, it's fine. It's just that the child is not sensible. Looking at Secretary Yin, Zhou Hao was a little puzzled. The secretary of the municipal party committee in Xiang City, Xiao Yu, was familiar with Mayor Situ Li, but he had never seen Secretary Yin in front of him. He also did not know which department he was in. Zhou Lichang saw Zhou Hao's expression and immediately saw Zhou Hao's doubt. He whispered in his ear and explained, that is the deputy secretary of the city committee, Yin Xintong, who was just transferred from the provincial organization department. He is in charge of the education and publicity in Xiang City. Zhou Hao nodded slightly. No wonder he did not know him. It turned out that Yin Xintong had just been transferred to work. The deputy secretary of the municipal committee should be ranked third or fourth in the city. He should be at least at the deputy department level. He could be considered a high-ranking official. Zhou Qiao could be seen chatting happily with Yin Xintong like he was an old friend who had been in contact with him for many years. However, Zhou Qiao did not pay much attention to Zhou Hao and Zhou Lichang's family. It was as if this table was divided into two worlds. Looking at Zhou Qiao's words, Zhou Hao guessed that he probably didn't know about his background and the situation of his family. Otherwise, even if he didn't show any signs of being close to them, he wouldn't scold him as recklessly as he did just now. Zhou Hao glanced at Zhou Lichang, who was standing beside him. Zhou Qiao didn't know about his situation. Obviously, it was because Zhou Lichang didn't tell him about it. This made Zhou Hao feel a little strange. However, after thinking for a while, he could guess the key point. Although Zhou Lichang had a net worth of tens of millions or even hundreds of millions, he was still considered one of the richest men in Fragrant Sky City. However, Zhou Qiao didn't really care about this kind of net worth. Judging from Zhou Qiao's attitude towards Zhou Lichang's family, his attitude towards Zhou Lichang's family wasn't much better than Zhou Hao's. Obviously, Zhou Lichang and the others were also rolled in the eyes by Zhou Qiao. Therefore, Zhou Lichang deliberately didn't tell Zhou Qiao about Zhou Hao's situation. He wanted Zhou Qiao to offend Zhou Hao and provoke Zhou Hao. If that happened, Zhou Qiao wouldn't be able to bear the consequences and would be able to help him vent his anger. Zhou Hao quickly guessed Zhou Lichang's little scheme, but he didn't pay much attention to it, because Zhou Qiao was really annoying. Zhou Lichang's encounter could be considered as the misfortune of the evil. Zhou Hao didn't care about Zhou Qiao. As a junior, he just had to be polite. After listening to Zhou Qiao and Yin Xintong's discussion, Zhou Hao also knew the purpose of Zhou Qiao coming to Xiang City. It turned out that the toy industry in Hong Kong had deteriorated. The toy companies in Japan, Taiwan, Korea, and other places had all joined the competition. Coupled with the influence of the financial storm during this period, Zhou Qiao's toy company's profits had fallen by a large margin. Zhou Qiao, who had been in the business world for many years, knew that if this continued, his company would be eliminated sooner or later. Therefore, he set his eyes on the northern continent and planned to expand the market in China. When he returned to Xiang City this time, Zhou Qiao planned to use Zhou Lichang, the local snake, to build a factory here. Zhou Hao secretly sneered in his heart. Because at this time, the toy market in China had almost been divided up. The entire industry was basically controlled by a few toy companies in Dongguan, and those authentic high-end toys were firmly held in the hands of Japanese and American merchants. Therefore, it was already too late for Zhou Qiao to aim his development strategy at the mainland. He was afraid that he wouldn't even be able to get a lot of soup. As for that Yin Xintong, Zhou Hao had also seen through his intentions. This new secretary, who had descended from the sky from the province, could be said to have no foundation at all when he first came to report. He had no advantage over local factions like Xiaoyu and Situli, who had deep roots. In order to gain a foothold as soon as possible, one had to show actual results. Zhou Qiao coming to Xiang City to invest and build a factory gave Yin Xintong this opportunity. After having a political achievement, Yin Xintong's development in Xiang City would be much smoother, and it would also build a foundation for future promotions. Even before Hong Kong returned, the domestic side treated the Hong Kong merchants who invested in the north very well, and they also implemented many corresponding preferential policies. At that time, the Hong Kong businessmen had a similar status as foreign investors, causing a large portion of the Hong Kong businessmen to become arrogant. Now that Hong Kong had returned, as the central government had regained control of Hong Kong, the Hong Kong merchants had become much more restrained, and those preferential policies had not been revoked. This time, Zhou Qiao planned to invest 500 million renminbi in Xiang City to build the largest toy production base in all of China, and it would spread to all of China and even Southeast Asia. An investment of 500 million yuan was already very impressive for Xiang City. Therefore, Yin Xintong, who was eager to establish her prestige, would definitely not give up this opportunity. In fact, there was a production base in Xiang City that had a production value many times greater than Zhou Qiao's investment. That was the car engine production base that the resident group had invested in previously. Its total investment was as high as 10 billion yuan. However, this production base was directly supervised by the provincial commissar. There was not much room for the Xiang City government to interfere. Although Zhou Hao's Tongguang Food Company had built the headquarters building, the Tongguang Building, in Xiang City, their business in Xiang City only accounted for a small part of it. They did not contribute much to Xiang City's tax revenue. Therefore, Zhou Qiao's investment in Xiang City this time was the largest in recent years. Yin Xintong was very enthusiastic about Zhou Qiao, the big financial backer. She repeatedly toasted to him and even promised Zhou Qiao many preferential policies, including the government building a national road for Zhou Qiao's factory. Zhou Qiao was also very interested. This was his first time coming to the mainland to invest. With a senior official like Yin Xintong taking care of him, it would be very beneficial for the development of his company. However, Zhou Hao just watched these two fellows who were colluding with each other coldly in his heart. Zhou Qiao never came back after he left China when he was young. How could he understand the culture of China's government? Yin Xintong was indeed a high-ranking official, the third or fourth in the Xiang City. However, he had just taken office and was only in charge of education and publicity. The finance, economic construction, public security, and hygiene were all in the hands of Xiaoyu and Siduli. Therefore, how could Yin Xintong decide on a construction project of this scale on her own? The promise he gave Zhou Qiao now was just an empty check. Furthermore, Zhou Qiao's toy production base was destined to not succeed. If he had come here to invest 10 years ago, perhaps he could still have a place in the domestic toy market. But now, Zhou Qiao had made such a big investment, and it was a performance of eagerness for short-term profit. Zhou Hao was eating his own food. He did not care about the collusion between Zhou Qiao and Yin Xintong's official business. He was really a little hungry. Since there was a free dinner, it would be a waste not to eat. Anyway, Zhou Qiao and Yin Xintong did not care about him, so he did not need to pay attention to them. However, Zhou Hao, who was enjoying the chicken juice abalone, suddenly heard someone say in English, "Maria, look at that guy. He has been eating from the beginning to the end. Does he not usually have food to eat? TSK. No wonder. This might be the first time in his entire life that he had tasted these lobsters and abalones. Hee, the standard of living in the mainland is indeed good. These lobsters and abalones are not fresh either. They are much worse than those in Hong Kong." It was unknown if he thought that other people did not understand English, but that fellow's voice was not soft. Zhou Hao looked up and saw that the one who spoke was Zhou Qiao's grandson, Zhou Zi. The Maria he spoke of was obviously that Filipino maid. Zhou Lichang's family's culture level was relatively low, and although Yin Xintong was a high-ranking official, she knew nothing about English, so she really did not understand what Zhou Zi said. Zhou Qiao understood, but he did not say anything. Zhou Hao knew that English was a necessary life skill in Hong Kong, but there were also many Hong Kong people who were proud to speak English. Even in China, they still spoke English to their compatriots who used Mandarin to communicate. Instead, they looked down on English to show that they were different from the rest. Zhou Hao hated people like this from the forgotten sect. Besides, Zhou Zi was clearly mocking him just now. Zhou Hao drank a mouthful of the clear soup before speaking leisurely in English. Could it be that the people in Hong Kong have yet to straighten out their positions? They are now people of China, not the dogs of the Queen of England. Those who can't correct their positions will end up in a miserable state. Zhou Hao's fluent English. This immediately stunned Zhou Zi and Zhou Qiao. When Zhou Hao opened his mouth, Zhou Qiao and Zhou Zi didn't have time to react, because they believed that Zhou Hao wasn't proficient in English. A few seconds later, they began to translate Zhou Hao's words in their hearts, and finally understood what he meant. What did you say? You said we are the dogs of the Queen of England? You dare to insult us Hong Kong people as the British Queen's dogs? Zhou Qiao immediately asked. Zhou Lichang and his family did not know what Zhou Hao was talking about at the beginning. They only came over after Zhou Qiao made it clear. They immediately shouted in their hearts, "Well said." They didn't dare to show it on their faces. They just watched quietly. Facing Zhou Qiao's anger, Zhou Hao didn't show any fear. He was still calm and relaxed. He said in a casual tone, "I don't mean to insult all the people in Hong Kong. I'm only targeting you." He glanced at Zhou Qiao and Zhou Zi, the grandfather and grandson, and continued, "I am only targeting you colonists who are willing to be brainwashed by others. I am a banana man who is ashamed of being a Chinaman and has no national dignity at all. To us Chinese, English is just a skill in occupational or cultural communication, and not a tool to cut off our relationship with China and show off. In this kind of domestic environment, is there a need to communicate through English? Anyone must know which language is their mother tongue." He looked coldly at Zhou Zi. "Do you understand Mandarin? Do you want me to translate what I just said in English for you?" You. Zhou Qiao did not expect Zhou Hao to scold him and Zhou Zi without any embellishment, especially in front of Yan Xintong. This guest, he was so angry that he trembled and could not even speak, casually mocking others and not caring about the feelings of others. "I am very suspicious of your quality." Zhou Hao did not care about Zhou Qiao's anger at all. He still said to Zhou Zi bluntly, "Borrowing your grandfather's words just now, people like you are truly born without any teachings." Being criticized by Zhou Hao in such a manner, Zhou Zi was also dumbstruck. It was a long time before he turned to Zhou Qiao and pointed at Zhou Hao with a trembling voice. "Grandfather, he. Zhou Qiao also could not tolerate Zhou Hao's attitude. He suddenly stood up and roared at Zhou Hao. "Is this how Zhou Liren and Yin Tong teach their son? Get lost. Our Zhou family does not have children like you." Zhou Hao shrugged his shoulders and stood up to leave his seat. His tone was still calm. "In fact, you do not represent our Zhou family. To be precise, you are not qualified to be the descendants of our Zhou family." After saying that, he turned around and walked towards the door. Before he opened the door, he turned around and said to Yan Xintong, "I understand that you are anxious to obtain political achievements. However, sometimes, something that seems to be beneficial might become a sharp knife that threatens one's life, especially the parents of our Xiang city. If you make a mistake, the entire Xiang city will suffer. You better think about it carefully." After saying that, Zhou Hao opened the door and left. The reason why he reminded Yan Xintong was not because Zhou Hao wanted to help him, but because of the miserable ending of Zhou Qiao's toy production base. The finances of the Xiang City government would be burdened, and in the end, the people of Xiang City would suffer. This was something Zhou Hao did not want to see. Hearing Zhou Hao's words, Yan Xintong's expression also changed. He had been an official for many years, so he naturally knew that recruiting funds was actually a double-edged sword. Investing funds could indeed bring development to the local government, especially in the aspect of GDP. It could also bring political achievements to the officials. However, the investments attracted were not purely from the profitability department. If the investment industry was not good at management and resulted in large-scale losses, the local government would also have to pay the price for this. This kind of situation actually happened very often. However, many officials would not work in one place for a long time, and most of them would only work once before being transferred elsewhere. Therefore, once there was a huge loss, they would do their best to conceal it. Once they were transferred, these problems could be left to the next batch of people. Zhou Hao's words just now was to directly point out that the toy production base that Zhou Qiao had invested in had no future, and tell Yin Xintong not to use the people of Xiang City as the price to exchange for his political achievements. However, as a department head high official, he had been suppressed by Xiao Yu and Situ Li. So how could Yin Xintong give up this opportunity of Zhou Qiao so easily? Zhou Qiao also understood the meaning behind Zhou Hao's words. He became even more furious. He repeatedly slammed the table. That beast really has no respect for his elders. No respect for his elders. Li Chong, tell me Yin Tong's phone number. I want her to see how her good son treats his elders. Witnessing the conflict between Zhou Hao and Zhou Qiao, Zhou Lichang's feelings were actually very complicated. On one hand, if Zhou Qiao's production base was successfully built, he would definitely be able to get a lot of benefits from it. At least, he would be able to become his construction material supplier, which was a huge business of over 100 million. However, he also knew very well about Zhou Hao's power. He had seen Xiao Yu and Situ Li, the two city leaders, behave respectfully in front of Zhou Hao, not daring to offend him in the slightest. The Tongguang Food Company was also a large company with a net worth of over 10 billion. How could Zhou Qiao be a match for Zhou Hao? Now that Zhou Qiao had shed all pretenses with Zhou Hao, if Zhou Hao was determined to take revenge, could Zhou Qiao's production base stay in Xiang City? It was hard to say. Furthermore, Zhou Lichang couldn't stand Zhou Qiao's arrogant attitude. He felt that what Zhou Hao said was right. These guys had stayed in Hong Kong for a long time, and they really thought that Zhou Qiao's production base would be located in Xiang City. He was a superior person. He and Zhou Qiao had been working on that production base together. If Zhou Hao really wanted to take revenge, he would definitely be implicated as well. Therefore, Zhou Lichang still hadn't told Zhou Qiao and the others about Zhou Hao's real situation. He just obediently told Zhou Qiao Yin Tong's phone number. He thought that the deeper the grudge between Zhou Qiao and Zhou Hao, the better. He wanted Zhou Hao to teach this old ass a good lesson. Besides, after Zhou Hao left Tianbin Hotel, he called Situ Li and asked him out to meet him. He had not seen Situ Li for a long time. This old fogey could be considered his father-in-law after all. He couldn't be too unfamiliar with taking someone else's daughter. Of course, Situ Li agreed to invite Zhou Hao to a newly opened Yunhua hotel. When Zhou Hao came to this 5-star Yunhua hotel and told the waiter the room number that Situ Li had booked, the waiter's expression changed, and he immediately called the manager over. The manager with good looks kept flattering Zhou Hao and quickly brought him to the room that was decorated very luxuriously. Zhou Hao guessed that the hotel's attitude towards him was probably because of Situ Li. It seemed that Situ Li had a great reputation as the mayor. After asking, Zhou Hao found out that this Yunyu Hotel was the new reception hotel in Xiang City. He immediately guessed that the boss of this hotel must have a very deep relationship with Situ Li and the Xiang City government. Not long after that, Situ Li came over. However, he wasn't alone. Situ Jianying also came along. When Situ Jianying saw Zhou Hao, she ignored Situ Li's presence and immediately ran over to sit beside Zhou Hao. She held his arm and pouted. Okay, call daddy out for fun, but not me. Zhou Hao scolded her with a smile. I am talking about serious business with your dad. Why are you meddling in it? Can't I come when you guys are talking about serious business? Are you saying that I am not serious? Situ Jianying said angrily. Situ Li also laughed and said, I can't stand being pestered by this girl, so I had to let her follow me. Women are not allowed to stay when they are older. He knew that his daughter had fallen deeply into Zhou Hao's trap. She even started learning how to cook from her mother for Zhou Hao. Although Zhou Hao and Situ Jianying were still middle school students, Situ Li did not stop them. He thought that since his daughter liked Zhou Hao and he could climb a big tree, why not? However, Situ Li did not know that Situ Jianying and Zhou Hao had even broken through to the last level. After Situ Li sat down, Zhou Hao asked him about his recent situation and the two chatted very amicably. Zhou Hao only heard him say, Uncle Situ, is there a deputy secretary from the Xiang City government who descended from the province called Yin Xintong? Yes? You know about it too? Zhou Hao sneered. I was just eating with him. Situ Li's expression changed. What? Yin Xintong is from the Zhao family? Zhou Hao shook his head and told Situ Li about what had happened. Situ Li heaved a sigh of relief and said that Yin Xintong is not a good person. She relied on the fact that she was appointed from the province to give orders to our city council. 1. He made it seem like he is the leader of Xiang City, and it was a waste for him to be an official. After so many years, he did not know any rules. It seems like Uncle Situ has a very big opinion of him, Zhou Hao said with a smile. It's not just me. Secretary Xiao is not used to him either. Situ Li said angrily. No, Secretary Xiao and I worked together to suppress him. We let him take care of education and publicity. In any case, he came to Xiang City just for the sake of going through the motions. After a few years, he will be promoted back to the province. Zhou Hao said, Uncle Situ. Secretary Yin did not plan to just go through the formalities. He wanted to get a real political achievement. No, he's going to get a 500 million yuan investment soon. What? 500 million? Situ Li was shocked. Zhou Hao raised his hand to calm his thoughts and continued, however, if he really brings back the 500 million, our Xiang City will be in trouble. For the sake of the prosperity and stability of our Xiang City, I don't want those unstable factors to get involved. When Situ Li heard Zhou Hao say that he didn't want the 500 million investment to enter the Xiang City, he was pleasantly surprised. If Yin Xintong really recruited the 500 million investment, then his status in the Xiang City would definitely rise, and he would quickly enter the line of sight of those leaders in the province. At that time, it would be impossible for Situ Li and Xiao Yu to suppress him, and he might even be suppressed by Yin Xintong instead. The degree of mutual deception in the official field was no less dangerous than the actual battlefield. A moment of carelessness, and it would be difficult to turn the situation around. Situ Li believed in Zhou Hao's ability. Since he said that he wouldn't let 500 million in, 500 million wouldn't be enough to enter Xiang City. But he still had some doubts. Xiao Hao, if we don't let those 500 million in, will others say that the investment environment in Xiang City isn't good? Will it go against the direction of the deepening reform and expansion of the country? You also know that this kind of mistake must not be made, or else it will be the end of one tussle. Humph, humph, humph. If anyone dares to say this, he will definitely be the one to die. Zhou Hao sneered. The friend group has invested nearly 10 billion in our Xiang City. With this matter in the way, who would dare to say that our Xiang City's investment environment is not good? Besides, the resident group's base is directly supervised by the province. If anyone dares to make a fuss about it, they will be the first one who will not let them go. It would definitely be the leaders of the province. Not only that, but the province would also protect the Xiang City government with all its might. Otherwise, if you are knocked down, they will suffer as well. After Zhou Hao said that, Situ Li came to a realization. He sighed in his heart that he was rolling around in the system. He had been crawling around for so many years, but his eyesight was not as accurate as Zhou Hao's. Looking at Zhou Hao's handsome face, Situ Li thought to himself, no wonder he was so valued by the old master of Zhao family. If this guy entered the system, his future would be limitless. But he came here to invest. Without sufficient reason, we can't just drive him away. Otherwise, who would dare to come to Xiang City in the future? Situ Li continued. That's a problem. Zhou Hao nodded and then smiled. But I have a way. At most, I will just destroy the foundation of the other party in Hong Kong. Without the source of the funds, let's see how he can invest. Situ Li quickly agreed, but he was very shocked in his heart. To be able to invest 500 million, the other party was definitely not an ordinary tycoon. He must have a net worth of several billion. However, when Zhou Hao said that he wanted to destroy the foundation of that person in Hong Kong, his tone was so relaxed and relaxed. From this, it could be inferred how astonishing Zhou Hao's financial resources were. Xiao Hao, do you think you can pull that investor over to our side? After all, it was an investment of 500 million. If Situ Li could pull that investor over to his side, he would be able to use it. Then, his political achievements would drop by a huge amount, and perhaps he would be able to take another step forward. Zhou Hao's face sank. Uncle Situ, I believe you should know that a man's heart is not enough to swallow an elephant. I can tell you this clearly. If you pull that investment to yourself, not only will it not allow you to take another step forward, you will also not be able to secure the position of mayor. Situ Li was shocked. He remembered what Zhou Hao had said just now. He seemed to have some conflict with that investor. Now, he was so greedy that he wanted to pull that person over. Wasn't this stroking Zhou Hao's beard? So he hurriedly apologized. Xiao Hao, I'm sorry. I was too rash. Zhou Hao waved his hand. Uncle Situ, this is not because I have a grudge with that guy. It is because that guy wants to invest in the toy production base. There is no future for development at all. The toy market in the country has long been divided up. Do you know what technology our country is best at? Pirated. No matter how advanced other people's anti-fraud technology is, we, the China people, will always have a way to replicate it. Let's not talk about Microsoft. Just look at the toy industry. For example, the Gundam series model produced by Japan. Although the design is exquisite and high quality, based on our national situation, the cost of a real Gundam model is too high. Therefore, many domestic manufacturers sent those pirated models over. Although the quality is a lot worse, the price is very low. No matter how those people in the real world resist, the pirated industry in the country is still flourishing. Even the government is tacitly approving of this illegal business behavior. Zhou Hao smiled and said, because the price of many imported products is very high, and the royalties are the biggest obstacle to lowering the cost. Just like Microsoft's Windows software, the real version costs a few thousand RMB. How can ordinary people afford it? The government also does not want foreigner to earn the money of our people. Do you think there is a future in investing in the toy industry under these circumstances? Sidhu Lee tilted his head and thought for a while, then said, but what if that guy also makes pirated copies? Then he is digging his own grave. Zhou Hao said coldly. Do you know why the factories in the country that produce all kinds of pirated goods are not large? Because this is just like the guerrilla warfare that was carried out in the past. It can be divided into zero, and it is very flexible. Even if it is destroyed, it will not suffer much loss, and it will be able to rise again very quickly. And if that fellow dared to build a 500 million yuan pirated toy production base, it would be equivalent to exposing an obvious target to the other party. The international anti-pirated voices were already loud, and he was still so arrogant. He would definitely be taken down by the country as a typical example. At that time, our Xiang city will become the most famous pirated kingdom. What do you think will happen to your city government? Sidhu Lee was drenched in cold sweat from Zhou Hao's words. If that really happened, the Xiang city would become infamous throughout the country, and the city government would be the first to bear the greatest responsibility. Zhou Hao said, that's why I said that letting such a production base move into Xiang City is like throwing away the finances of Xiang City into the sea. When that happens, Yin Xintong will be able to move back to the province after a few years of work, leaving behind such a mess for you. How can you clean it up? Xiao Hao, luckily I have your guidance. Otherwise I, as the mayor, would really be able to do the job. Sidhu Lee wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said gratefully to Zhou Hao, that Yin Xintong, luring such a scourge back, isn't she using the people of Xiang City to fry them? Zhou Hao's face showed a smile again. Uncle Sidhu, you don't have to worry about that. Didn't you and Secretary Xiao control the finances and construction? As long as you don't agree, the investors won't be able to get involved. Hee, if you want to get a political achievement, you don't need to have any ideas about that guy. Our Heavenly River Drink Group plans to build another large beverage production base in Xiang City within the year, and it will spread throughout the entire South China region. The initial investment is estimated to be no less than 3 billion renminbi. So, Uncle Sidhu, you can rest assured. When Sidhu Lee suddenly heard this news, he really felt like he was in a dream, because this happiness came too suddenly. It was an investment of 3 billion yuan, and the sales results of the Milky Way Drink Group were obvious to everyone. In recent days, the company had surpassed the two giants, Coke and Coca-Cola, and became the biggest local beverage company. Its development prospects were limitless. It was not something that the self-righteous Hong Kong businessman could compare with. Zhou Hao had told him about this news. Obviously, he wanted to take credit for it. How could Sidhu Lee not be mad with joy? At this time, with such a political achievement, it was equivalent to him holding a pass. It was not impossible for him to be brought into the province. Sidhu Jianying, who was leaning on Zhou Hao's shoulder, saw that Zhou Hao could control her father's emotions with just a few words. Fear, disappointment, surprise, and other emotions quickly changed because of Zhou Hao's words. This made Sidhu Jianying surprised and proud. Like many girls, she had regarded her father's image as the standard of her choice of spouse since she was young. Zhou Hao was much better than Sidhu Lee. Whether it was in the past when Sidhu Lee was the director of the Public Security Bureau or now he was the mayor, no one knew how many people tried to get on his good side. Everyone who went in and out was influential. However, in front of Zhou Hao, they did not dare to be impudent. It was as if they were meeting a big leader. How could Sidhu Jianying not be loyal to Zhou Hao? The two chatted for a long time. Sidhu Lee said goodbye to Zhou Hao, but Sidhu Jianying didn't want to go back so soon. Isn't there a private room in the KTV upstairs? I want to play with Zhou Hao. I will ask Zhou Hao to send me home later. Having just received such a huge benefit from Zhou Hao, Sidhu Lee could not stop Sidhu Jianying from being with Zhou Hao. He could only ask Zhou Hao to send her back later, while he left first. Before leaving, he did not forget to tell Sidhu Jianying, don't play so crazy. Both you and Xiao Hao have to go to school tomorrow. After that, Zhou Hao and Sidhu Jianying went to the KTV room upstairs. When the two of them were alone, Sidhu Jianying immediately hugged Zhou Hao without any restraint. She giggled and said, you are really amazing. My dad is being played around by you. Zhou Hao patted her plump and perky butt. Nonsense. How can a daughter talk about her father like that? It's fine in front of me, but you can't say that to others. Do you understand? Oh, got it. Situ Jianying said obediently. She felt weak after being slapped by Zhou Hao. She leaned in Zhou Hao's arms and bit his neck. Master, you haven't hit my butt for a long time. You little slut. Zhou Hao scolded her jokingly, but Situ Jianying turned around even more fiercely and took the initiative to throw her but in front of Zhou Hao. She was still twisting and turning restlessly. Zhou Hao shook his head with a smile and stretched out his hand towards Yu Wu in front of him. The two of them went on a rampage in this dimly lit room where the music was ambiguous. Situ Jianying was also tidied up by Zhou Hao to the point of submitting to him. Zhou Hao did not go home during lunch break. Instead, he stayed in the school library. Because Li Rulin had been staying at the library to read every day during lunch break, Zhou Hao came over to accompany her. The Yining Middle School's library was a 3-story tall ancient jade tile building. It turned out that it was a private school that existed since the Republic of China. After the establishment of the country, Yining Middle School had taken the address here and made this private school the library of the school. After 3 renovations and maintenance, it was a very famous cultural ruin in Xiang City. Moreover, this library had a very rich collection of books. Even the Xinhua bookstore in the city was far inferior to it. There were even many precious depositories that were published many years ago. There were even some alone thread-bound books that were preserved at the end of the Qing dynasty and at the beginning of the Qing dynasty. Zhou Hao and Li Rulin were currently sitting opposite each other at the table by the window on the 2nd floor. As it was lunch break time, there was no one else in the library. Outside the window was a verdant banyan tree. Occasionally, the rustling of leaves and the chirping of birds could be heard, making it seem very quiet. Zhou Hao rested his head on his arm and looked at Li Rulin. He saw that the beauty in front of him was focused on reading the book that introduced education management and human resource application. Her soft hair was gently hanging down, shining with a black luster under the gentle sunlight. That elegant and refined face revealed a kind of tranquility that could make people feel at ease and calm. Occasionally, her eyes would blink and her long eyelashes would tremble slightly. The surroundings were very quiet, as if the entire world had settled down. Zhou Hao could not help but have a glimmer of hope in his heart. He hoped that time would stay at this moment forever. Perhaps it was a telepathic connection. Li Rulin seemed to have sensed Zhou Hao's gaze on her. She lifted her eyes slightly and saw that he was indeed looking at her quietly. His expression was very pleasing to the eye. Li Rulin's face was slightly red as she laughed softly. Silly, what are you looking at? I'm looking at you. I really can't see enough in my whole life. Zhou Hao's voice was more lively than usual. Suddenly, it sounded like a young man who was naive and did not know what to worry about. Li Rulin rolled her eyes at him, but she did not know how charming her every frown and smile was. Her gentle and silent style caused Zhou Hao's calm heart to ripple. She saw a book with yellowed pages under Zhou Hao's arm and asked curiously, "What book is that? Didn't you always only read economical books?" "I have to take a look at the taste occasionally." Zhou Hao smiled and flipped the cover of the book for Li Rulin to see. On the cover was written, Zheng Wanzheng's grandfather's book. The font was very simple and gave people a sense of heaviness. Zheng Wanzheng's book? Is it that Songhua fan? Li Rulin asked. Zhou Hao nodded. This one Zhenggong could be said to be the most important person in the late Qing dynasty. When his power was at its peak, more than 70% of the Qing dynasty's military power was in his hands. With a single thought, he could easily overthrow the Qing dynasty and become an emperor. In any case, his influence on China was extremely deep. Moreover, our founding ancestor also said that he was under the sole control of Zheng Wanzheng. Zheng Wanzheng's Book of Family was one of the 3 books that Jiang Jieshi had been reading all year round under his pillow. The other 2 were respectively the biography of the best and records of Zhang Hu's soldiers. Li Rulin had never come into contact with such things before and was immediately interested. So you have such a big background. Then what is written in this Zheng Zhenggong's book? It's all letters from Zhang Guifan to his family. Isn't it the way to rule a country and the art of military use? If it's just a family book, why would a formidable character like Jiang Jieshi be so highly respected? Li Rulin did not understand. Zhou Hao smiled and said, Zhang Guifan has been leading troops outside for a long time, but he insisted on giving it to me regularly. The letters contained what he saw and heard, as well as instructions to his family, including what kind of teacher should be chosen for his son, what kind of gifts should be given to him, what kind of ceremony should he perform to worship his ancestors, and no matter how big or small, he gave instructions one by one. Although these are just some complicated family matters, as the saying goes, one can see the bigger picture from a small perspective and rule a large country as if it's a small dish. From these minute details, It shows how amazing Zheng Guofan is when he treats people. It can be said that he's really good at reading articles everywhere. After Zhou Hao explained, Li Ruolin finally understood. No wonder people like Great Ancestor and Jiang Jishu, who were influential in the times, praised this Zhang Wanjing's Book of Family. She then heard Zhou Hao say, I think that the two most outstanding books in our country are this Zhang Wanjing's Book of Family and Sun Tzu's Art of War. The former is the epitome of receiving and training people to reach the world's sentiment, while the latter is the treasured book of all competing actions. When it comes to China, the most amazing thing is to cheat each other. When it comes to the word fight, there is no race in the world that can compare to us in China. Your words are too biased. Li Ruolin smiled bitterly. This is the truth. Zhou Hao smiled and looked at Li Ruolin. I do not remember which Western scholar said that there are two smartest people in the world. The first is Han, and the second is Jewish. The Jews use their talents to make money, and the Han use their talents to fight. Do you remember what our great ancestor said? 3. Fighting against the heavens is endless joy. Fighting against the earth, endless joy. Fighting against others, endless joy. Hee, that's the way we, the people of China, are. Seeing Zhou Hao's pair of bright eyes that seemed to see through everything in the world, Li Ruolin's heart could not help but tremble. Because at this moment, Zhou Hao, while sighing about the world, appeared to be even more wise. That was a maturity that he could not possibly have at his age. Recovering his thoughts, Zhou Hao smiled at Li Ruolin and said, Actually, this Zhang Wanjing's Book of Family is much better than your management, human resource application, and so on. Because this is the classic example of teaching you how to manage and use people. Li Ruolin nodded. Because the construction of Tianhe Primary School that Zhou Hao had invested in had already entered the second half of the project, it was estimated that it could be handed over within the year. In the future, Li Ruolin would become the manager of the school and a series of other education institutions that had invested in the school. Therefore, she had to make preparations now to increase her management knowledge. The school library's Zhang Wanjing's homebook is a handwritten version. The words are written with great force, and from these words, it can be seen that the person's state of mind is far higher than his heart. Even without looking at the contents of Zhang Wanjing's family book, just looking at the words had already benefited him a lot. However, this person didn't leave behind his signature. Otherwise, I would really like to pay him a visit. Zhou Hao sighed with emotion. From the words that carried the wind of dragons and tigers, not only did Zhou Hao see the man's mental state, he even felt that these words contained some profound meaning of martial arts, allowing Zhou Hao to comprehend a lot. Zhou Hao had once seen some martial arts masters improve their martial arts by calligraphy in martial arts novels. For example, Zhu Ziliu, the disciple of Master One Lantern in The Divine Carved Couple, was a famous calligraphy master who had combined one solar finger with calligraphy. It's not good to stay here all day. Let's go out for a stroll. Zhou Hao said to Li Ruolin. Okay. So the two of them left the school and went out for a stroll in the commercial street outside. Because Zhou Hao's school uniform was very conspicuous and this was close to Yining Middle School, it was very easy to meet acquaintances. Li Ruolin did not dare let Zhou Hao hold her hand and only walked side by side with Zhou Hao. And? There is a new pajama shop here? Li Ruolin's eyes lit up when she passed by a pajamas store. She pulled Zhou Hao along and walked in. The store was filled with the business of pajamas, and there were all styles of men, women, old and old. Zhou Hao originally thought Li Ruolin wanted to buy them herself, but he saw her suddenly take out a blue male pajamas from the clothing rack and stick it in front of Zhou Hao. She intimately measured the size of the pajamas. The salespeople in the shop immediately looked at Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin strangely, because Zhou Hao was still wearing his school uniform. It was a very important issue to be in a relationship at this time, especially since Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin had such outstanding appearances. Luckily, they did not know Li Ruolin was Zhou Hao's teacher, otherwise they would be even more surprised. In the end, Li Ruolin bought Zhou Hao and herself a set of pajamas for a couple. Her eyes were full of happiness, like a little wife. What's going on over there? Why are there so many people? After exiting the shop, Zhou Hao saw that the intersection was filled with people. He could vaguely see the lights of police cars coming out from the crowd. Zhou Hao also heard a heart-wrenching cry. There must have been a traffic accident. Let's go and take a look. Yes, Li Ruolin said. She did not want to join in the fun. It was because that intersection was very close to Yining Middle School. She wanted to see that place. She wanted to see if there were any accidents that would happen to the students of the Yining Middle School in the future. When she got closer, the sad cry of the woman became even clearer. Zhou Hao frowned because he could hear the sadness in the cry. If it wasn't for the fact that he really felt despair, he wouldn't have cried like this. After that, Zhou Hao and Li Rulin saw a bicycle lying on the right side of the intersection. Next to it was a 4 or 5-year-old boy. His chest was sunken and blood was coming out of his mouth and nose. He had long lost his breath. The ground beneath him was also covered in a pool of blood, and his death was extremely miserable. Not far away, there was a woman in her 30s crying and screaming. She wanted to walk towards the place where the boy was lying, but she was stopped by a man and 2 policemen. "I want to see my son. Let me go. I want to see my son." The woman was the one who cried out in grief and indignation. She was like a madman, continuously beating the man and policeman who stopped her. She cried at the top of her lungs, "I want to see my son. Why is it my son? Impossible. Impossible. Is the driver dead? Is the driver dead? I'm going to kill him with my own hands. I don't want a single piece. I want to kill him with my own hands." Seeing this tragic scene, the people around silently shed tears. An old uncle next to Zhou Hao wiped his tears and said, her husband and the 2 policemen stopped her from going to see her son because they didn't want her to break down. Li Rulin, who was kind, had long shed tears. Zhou Hao held her hand tightly and comforted her warmly. At the same time, he asked the old uncle, "Old uncle, what is going on? What about the driver and the car that caused the accident?" Because there was only the fallen bicycle and the corpse of the boy lying in a pool of blood, but there was no car that caused the accident. The old uncle's face immediately revealed an angry expression as he cursed. "That be **starred who killed 1,000 knives. He ran away a long time ago." It turned out that the boy had accompanied his father to deliver lunch to his mother. His father rode a bicycle and drove him across the street. However, a BMW SUV suddenly turned right. The boy's father was unable to dodge in time and was hit by the car. He was knocked more than a meter away, but the bicycle and the boy were rolled under the wheel. The boy was immediately seriously injured, and the car also stopped. However, before the boy's father could stand up, the BMW SUV actually retreated towards the boy. It crushed the heavily injured boy twice, and the boy was crushed to death. Following that, the car was about to escape, but the surrounding crowd that witnessed the scene rushed over to block it. However, the driver of the car drove away the crowd and quickly escaped from the scene. 6 citizens were injured by him. Zhou Hao was also furious when he heard that. He said angrily, "This is a deliberate murder." He knew that although there was no new traffic regulations, many drivers still had the concept of getting injured is better than getting killed, because if someone got hurt, the medical fees needed to be paid for a long period of time. If a person got hit and became disabled, he would still have to be responsible for his future life. This was simply a bottomless pit, and if he killed someone, he would only need one compensation. Even if the compensation was a large sum, it could still solve the problem in one go. Therefore, most of the time, the driver who knocked down a person would deliberately hurt the injured person a second time and directly kill the injured person. His actions were truly inhumane and heartless. At this time, the boy's mother finally broke free from the obstruction of her husband and the 2 policemen and fell in front of her son's corpse. Seeing her son's horrible corpse, the woman was stunned for a moment, and a dull expression appeared on her face. Then, she let out a scream and fell to the ground, continuously beating her chest and thighs. She cried out in grief, "Son, my son. Why is it my son? Why? Impossible. Impossible." Even the few policemen at the scene could not help but feel their noses ache when they saw this scene. The surrounding crowd started to cry as well. Li Rulin, who was lying on Zhou Hao's shoulder, could not stop sobbing. The boy's father and the other family members who had just rushed over helped the woman who was crying beside the son's corpse up. The woman then asked her husband, "Did the driver find it? Did the driver find it? I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him myself. I don't want compensation. I don't want a single son. I'm going to kill him with my own hands." Then, he turned around and said to the family members on the other side, "My son is very outstanding. He is very obedient. You can ask the neighbors. No one doesn't praise my son for being smart and obedient. He is a good child who is 1 in 1,000. My son is very good. Why? Why is it my son? Impossible. Impossible. Son." Zhou Hao also felt that his eyes were astringent. He raised his head and looked around the intersection. He found that the traffic lights in the shops nearby were not installed with electronic eyes. In this way, he could not see the license plate number of the BMW SUV that had caused the accident. He saw that the person in charge at the scene was a police officer from the Public Security Bureau called Liu Yuwei. He was Situ Li's right-hand man in the past. It was said that after Situ Li became the mayor, he was promoted to the captain of the team. Zhou Hao patted Li Ruolin's hand and asked her to stay where she was, while he walked forward. Lu Yue also saw Zhou Hao. Of course he recognized Zhou Hao. He quickly greeted, Mr. Zhou, why are you here too? I just happened to pass by. Zhou Hao said, how is it? That B** starred is really a son of A B** T. Lu Yue couldn't help but curse. We've asked the witnesses at the scene. The deceased's father didn't violate the traffic rules. He only crossed the road according to the traffic light. It was the BMW SUV that turned right and didn't slow down before bumping into the person. So the responsibility lies with the owner of the BMW. Moreover, that fellow actually deliberately crushed the deceased. According to the witness's testimony, that fellow can be sentenced for intentional murder. Zhou Hao asked, there are no electronic eyes here. Can you find that car? We didn't capture the scene, but many of the witnesses here have recorded the license plate number. We just sent it to the traffic police to investigate who the owner of the car is. Lu Yue said. Zhou Hao nodded. This case must be handled impartially, no matter who the owner is or what backer he has. If your public security bureau is in trouble, go and find Mayor Situ. Got it? Although Zhou Hao was not a part of the system, Lu Yue knew that he had great foresight and immediately agreed. Indeed, in this era, those who could drive a BMW were definitely not ordinary people. They were also afraid that the other party would have something to rely on. If that was the case would be very difficult to handle. Now that Zhou Hao said this, they felt relieved. At that moment, Lu Yue's phone rang. He made an apologetic look at Zhou Hao before answering the call. However, his expression changed after a while. What's wrong? After he ended the call, Zhou Hao asked. About that, Mr. Zhou? The owner of that BMW, the traffic police have found out. Lu Yue said with a complicated expression. According to the registration, the owner of the BMW is Zhou Lichang from Zhou Village. He only bought the new car in February this year. Even Zhou Hao couldn't help but be shocked when he heard the news. The driver who killed people without any conscience was actually his relative. No one would feel good about it. At this moment, a strong sense of shame welled up in Zhou Hao's heart. However, he calmed down quickly and said to the road with an expressionless face, since you have found out who the owner of the car is, then follow the legal procedures and bring the suspect back for investigation. But he is not Mr. Zhou's. Lu Yue hesitated. Zhou Hao took a deep breath and looked at his heartbroken mother. He said coldly, I will go with you. I will see if he dares to resist arrest. However, although the traffic police had found out that the owner of the car was Zhou Lichang, Zhou Hao instinctively felt that this was not Zhou Lichang's doing. But no matter what, this matter involved his relatives. Although he did not have a good impression of them, if he revealed a little bit of selfish intentions, then there would definitely be endless troubles in the future. After letting Li Ruolin return to school first and take a leave of absence for him, Zhou Hao got into the car of the Public Security Bureau and went straight to Zhou Lichang's residence. When the group of people arrived at Zhou Lichang's villa, Zhou Hao's face immediately darkened because there was really a black BMW SUV parked in the courtyard. The license plate number also matched what the crowd had said. Zhou Hao could even see that there was a scratch on the right side of the car, and there were even traces of blood on the tires. The police also saw the BMW SUV. The expression on their faces became even colder because they hated the person who caused the accident to the bone. Lu Yue gestured for Zhou Hao to come in. Zhou Hao went straight to the door and pressed the doorbell. It was Su Yongwei who opened the door. When she saw Zhou Hao and the few policemen outside, Su Yongwei was very surprised. Little Xiao Hao, what's wrong? Why are there so many policemen? Is Big Uncle home? Zhou Hao asked directly. Yes, he just came back. Su Yongwei's face was full of doubt. Obviously, she did not know about the traffic accident. When Zhou Hao heard that Zhou Lichang had just come back, his heart sank again. But he also thought that his intuition had never been wrong. There was something strange about this matter. However, he still led Lu Yue to wait for the police to enter the house and let Su Yongwei call Zhou Lichang out. Xiao Hao, you are here? Huh, what's going on? When Zhou Lichang saw Zhou Hao, he still had a smile on his face, but when he saw Lu Yue and the others at the same time, he was very confused. Zhou Hao carefully observed his expression and saw that he did not seem to be faking it. His expression eased a little and he asked, Uncle, where did you go just now? Just now? I was with Secretary Yin and the others just now. Didn't I just come back? Zhou Lichang answered honestly. Did you drive the BMW SUV in the yard just now? When he heard Zhou Hao's question, he saw the few policemen looking at him angrily. Zhou Lichang realized that something was not right. He asked tentatively, Xiao Hao, what happened? Did something happen to the car? Zhou Hao frowned. Answer me first. You were driving the car just now. Was it that car? Zhou Lichang did not say anything. Su Yongwei, who was beside him, opened her mouth. Lichang did not drive that BMW back just now. His BMW was lent to Zhou Zi in a week, and he just returned it to us. But I saw that his face was pale as if something had happened. But he didn't say anything when I asked him. Xiao Hao, did that guy drive our car and cause trouble outside? Zhou Hao suddenly understood. No wonder he felt that this wasn't Zhou Lichang's doing. However, the murderer was still his relative. It was just that their relationship was very distant. Humph humph, so it's you. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to find a way to deal with you. I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to my doorstep. Zhou Hao sneered to himself. It had been more than a week since Zhou Qiao came to Xiang City. Finally, with the help of Yin Xintong, he found a place that satisfied him. It was a place called Ma Village, and next to it was Ma Xinhe, who didn't have a lot of traffic. The terrain here was open, and not far away from the village was the welcoming road that Xiang City had built 2 years ago. The transportation was very convenient, and the government didn't need to build any national roads to cooperate. Looking at the piece of land in front of him that was 80 to 90,000 square meters, Zhou Qiao smiled to Yin Xintong, who was beside him, and said, Secretary Yin, this place is very good. The terrain is flat and open, and the transportation is convenient. However, this piece of land still has a lot of farmland. What about the farmers? Yin Xintong laughed and said, That's nothing. Just give them compensation. Anyway, there are still many barren lands near Jishan in Ma Xian village. They can still restart farming. Also, CEO Zhou, there is another benefit to building a factory here. Look, next to this is Ma Xinhe. You can use the remaining water to directly expel it. It will even save on the cost of polluting it. I'm not afraid of doing this. Will the Quality Inspection Department and the Water Conservancy Department object? Zhou Qiao said. What are you afraid of? Director Zhou, this is not a heavily polluted heavy industry. It is just a light industry. It will not have much impact. Besides, this Ma Xian river will flow. It's not a pool of stagnant water. The sewage will be washed away very quickly. Director Zhou, don't worry. With me here, no one will say anything to you. Yin Xian Tang patted her chest with a face full of confidence. The two of them looked at each other and laughed loudly in tacit understanding. Yin Xintong laughed especially happily. When he was at the meeting of the city's regulatory committee, he had mentioned the matter of Zhou Qiao investing in the Xiang City to build a toy production base. Who would have thought that Situ Li and Xiao Yu had a tacit understanding that this matter needed to be carefully considered and decided after considering all the factors in all aspects. Although she did not directly oppose it, Yin Xintong knew that Situ Li and Xiao Yu had put aside the matter of Zhou Qiao investing in the Xiang City. Of course, he didn't know that Zhou Hao had given Situ Li a detailed analysis of the future prospects of Zhou Qiao's toy production base. Therefore, he only thought that Situ Li and Desolate Yu were deliberately suppressing him. In a fit of rage, Yin Xintong bypassed Situ Li and Desolate Yu and went straight to find his backer in the provincial commissar. After his backer knew that Zhou Qiao was going to invest 500 million in Xiang City, he told Yin Xintong that as long as this investment could be guaranteed to be in place, instead of an empty check, he would help Yin Xintong suppress Situ Li and Xiao Yu and guarantee that Zhou Qiao would invest smoothly. With the support of the province, Yin Xintong's confidence became much stronger. Only then did she help Zhou Qiao search all over Xiang City to find a place to build the factory that satisfied him. She even ignored the wishes of the villagers of Ma Xian village and used high-pressure methods to forcefully expropriate agricultural land. She also ignored what kind of pollution Zhou Qiao's factory would cause to Ma Xian He. Director Zhou, now this place has been chosen. I want to confirm when your investment funds for the first period will arrive. When will we sign the contract? Yin Xintong was also afraid that Zhou Qiao would go back on his word at the last minute, so everything she had done would be in vain. So, she wanted to sign the contract with him as soon as possible and grab this political achievement in her hands. The contract can be signed at any time. We just have to wait for your city government to send the official document. Zhou Qiao laughed and suddenly heard his phone ring. He took it out to answer the call. His face immediately changed and he angrily said to Yin Xintong, Secretary Yin, what is the meaning of your city government? Director Zhou, what did you say? Yin Xintong was baffled by Zhou Qiao's sudden fury. Zhou Qiao was cold. He said, Don't you know? Your Public Security Bureau has handcuffed my grandson. What? Yin Xintong exclaimed. The shock on her face immediately turned into anger because the Public Security Bureau was in Situ Li's hands. The matter of Zhou Zi suddenly being captured by the Public Security Bureau was clearly done by Situ Li, Yin Xintong thought that this was definitely because Situli wanted to ruin her cooperation with Zhou Qiao. That was why she directed this scene. He said seriously, "Director Zhou, don't worry. I will immediately go back and investigate this matter. I must punish those evil horses in the public security system who commit crimes ruthlessly and give Director Zhou and your grandson an explanation. I'll go back with you. I don't know how those people will treat my grandson. I've heard a lot about your continent's public security style," Zhou Qiao said with a serious face. Thus, the two of them rushed back to the city and went straight to the Public Security Bureau. The moment they arrived at the Public Security Bureau, Yin Xintong angrily shouted at the police opposite her, "Call out your bureau chief, arrest the relatives of the Hong Kong investors, and destroy the process of the government's investment. This is still acceptable. Yo, who is so bold as to disrupt the process of our government's investment? This is terrible. We have to punish you severely." Situ Li walked out from the front with a gloomy voice. Behind him were the bureau chief of the Public Security Bureau and a few deputies. Seeing that Situ Li was actually here at the Municipal Bureau, Yin Xintong's expression changed. She did not care about falling out with Situ Li anymore. She gritted her teeth and said, "Mayor Situ, why did you arrest the relatives of our investors for no reason? What do you want? 1. Could it be that you really can't watch me pull my investment back to contribute to the economic development of Xiang City? Could it be that you are really the kind of person who doesn't like other people?" Situ Li sneered in his heart. This Yin Xintong really doesn't understand the way of an official. He actually went against the dignity of a mayor in front of so many grassroots personnel. He said, "Secretary Yin, you can't say that randomly. I am doing things impartially. The family of the investor you were talking about was arrested by the Municipal Bureau because they were suspected of intentional murder and traffic accident. All of this was carried out according to the legal procedures. There was nothing against the rules at all." Zhou Qiao, who was also present, changed his expression and said, "Intentionally murder? Why would Ziyi commit the crime of intentional murder? You are wronging a good person." Situ Li narrowed his eyes and looked at Zhou Qiao. He gave a fake smile and said, "Zhou Qiao, Mr. Zhou, right? Hee. Whether or not you are accusing a good person is up to the law. However, from the evidence that the Municipal Bureau has, the possibility of your grandson being wrongly accused is very low." "Situ Li, don't go too far." Yin Xintong stared fixedly at Situ Li. He still did not know the whole story, and only thought that this was Situ Li deliberately going against him. Situ Li shrugged his shoulders and did not say anything, as if he was doing business. Yin Xintong gritted her teeth, then turned around and left with a flick of her sleeves. Zhou Qiao gave Situ Li a deep look and said, "Mayor Situ, you are so awe-inspiring. I have finally witnessed it today." After saying that, he also left. He knew that he would not be able to see Zhou Ziyi anymore, so he could only go back and think about it. Looking at the backs of the two people leaving one after another, Situ Li secretly sneered. But soon, he couldn't laugh, because 2 hours later, he received a call from the deputy provincial governor. The deputy provincial governor told Situ Li over the phone that he had to be careful with the Hong Kong businessmen who came to invest. He had to give them appropriate preferential treatment policies. He didn't want the Hong Kong businessmen to be disappointed with the investment environment of the province. According to what he meant, he wanted to turn Zhou Ziyi's case into an ordinary traffic accident. As the party responsible for the accident, Zhou Ziyi could also give reasonable compensation to the family of the deceased. However, if he wanted to use the crime of intentional murder on Zhou Ziyi, it would be too much. In the end, he also instructed Situ Li to take care of this matter properly. He did not want to affect the investors' confidence in Xiang City or even the province, and also did not want to ruin the harmonious relationship between the Hong Kong people and the mainland. Although the deputy governor's tone was calm, and he talked to Situ Li in a completely negotiable manner, Situ Li, who had been in the government for many years, understood that this was an extremely severe criticism. It affected the investors' confidence in Xiang City and even the province. The deeper meaning was that he was criticizing Situ Li for destroying the economic development of the province and destroying Hong Kong's relationship with the country. Situ Li did not dare to wear this big hat, so he immediately called Zhou Hao. At the same time, Zhou Hao, who was eating dinner with Li Ruolin, received a call from Situ Li and smiled. That deputy governor is such a big official. He wants to turn Zhou Ziyi's matter into an ordinary traffic accident? Humph, humph, humph. I don't think that Yin Xintong is his illegitimate child. He dares to take everything into his hands? I want to see how he can turn this matter into an ordinary traffic accident. Xiao Hao, the other party, is a provincial official. You. Why don't you tell General Zhao and let him? Before Situ Li could finish, Zhou Hao smiled and said, Uncle Situ, you are looking down on me too much. Such a small matter doesn't need to alarm the Zhao family. Situ Li was shocked when he heard this. He could hear the dissatisfaction in Zhou Hao's tone. At the same time, he was surprised by Zhou Hao's words. Zhou Hao actually thought that such a small matter was not worth mentioning when it involved the competition between the provincial officials. Uncle Situ, just let go of your hands and do it. As long as you remember these words, do it impartially, and let me handle the rest. Zhou Hao hung up the phone after saying that. Li Ruolin, who was picking food for herself, said, Is it because Zhou Zi has some backing behind him? Xiao Hao, you must help that little boy's family. Don't let that little boy suffer injustice. Don't worry, Sister Lan. Zhou Hao narrowed his eyes and smiled. I will take a good look. Does the deputy governor really dare to take this matter into his hands? The next day, many unfamiliar faces suddenly appeared in Xiang City. They went everywhere to inquire about the details of the accident yesterday. They also found the parents of the little boy who had lost his life to the wheel and did a detailed investigation. It was already the third day since Zhou Zi was detained by the Xiang City Public Security Bureau. In these 3 days, he, a spoiled rich young master, experienced a completely different life. The Public Security Bureau arranged for him to be placed in a separate detention room. There was only a stone bed and a simple toilet inside. The nauseating smell lingered in the detention room, making Zhou Zi feel extremely uncomfortable. At this moment, he was hugging his knees against the wall and sitting on the stone bed. His body was trembling and his eyes were black. It was obvious that he had not slept for a long time. He was currently enveloped in fear and uneasiness, especially since he did not know what kind of fate he would face. It made him uneasy. He recalled that day when he drove the BMW SUV he borrowed from Zhou Lichang and went to swim with a woman he had just picked up from a technical school. However, he accidentally knocked down someone. Although Zhou Zi knew how to drive, he did not have a driver's license. He did not have a driver's license, whether it was in Hong Kong or in China. However, Hong Kong was under strict management. After coming to Xiang City with Zhou Qiyao, Zhou Zi was like a fish swimming in the sea. He did not have any scruples and drove around. However, because the cars in China were all on the left side of the driver's seat, completely different from Hong Kong's cars, Zhou Zi was unable to adapt for a while and often made mistakes like going against the rules. The reason why he knocked down the boy and his father was because Zhou Zi was used to looking to the left and did not notice them. Originally, Zhou Zi did not think of running away after knocking down the boy. He also thought of sending the boy to the hospital. However, the woman in the same line of work told him that she had injured someone in the country. The compensation was endless. It would be better to just knock him to death. Furthermore, Zhou Qiyao was a foreign businessman. Even if Zhou Zi was found out in the end, the government would still have some scruples. They would not really do anything to him. At most, they would just compensate him. Zhou Zi, who was only 18 years old this year, had never encountered such a situation. In his panic, he listened to the woman's instigation and finally crushed the boy to death. After that, he hurriedly returned the car to Zhou Lichang and did not dare to go out to play. He immediately hid in the hotel and did not dare to tell Zhou Qiao about this until he was taken away by the police. Zhou Zi's grandfather, who was not his grandfather, would come and bring him back very soon. But until now, he had not seen Zhou Qiao. This made him unable to help but let his imagination run wild. Especially in this dark and oppressive detention room, Zhou Zi, who was alone, often thought of the boy's corpse from that day, and the fear in his heart grew even stronger. Zhou Zi, it's time to eat. The cold voice of the police in charge of watching over him came from outside. Then, he saw a small rectangular window open under the iron door, and a plate of white rice was handed in through that window. Zhou Zi's food here was not bad either. There were a few vegetables and a few pieces of fat on the white rice. Zhou Zi immediately jumped off the bed and rushed to the door. However, he was not interested in the lunch. Instead, he hammered the iron door and shouted outside, Hey, 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 can you let me take a shower? I haven't taken a shower for 3 days. It's so uncomfortable. Zhou Zi was used to living a comfortable life in the past. How could he tolerate such an environment in the detention room? The most unbearable thing for him was that he couldn't take a shower. His whole body was sticky and very uncomfortable. The police officer outside sneered and said, Do you think you are still in the hotel bathing? If you want to take a shower, go to the bathroom and get some water. It's suitable for you to use that water to wash. Everyone in the Public Security Bureau hated Zhou Zi very much, because his actions of crushing the boy was worse than that of a beast. If not for the fact that the higher-ups had instructed Zhou Zi to be an important criminal and not make any mistakes, the police in the police station would have given him a welcome ceremony when Zhou Zi came in. Zhou Zi sighed dejectedly and asked anxiously, "Is my grandfather here yet? Has he been here before?" "Your grandfather? Humph. Your grandfather is right here. If you have anything to say, just say it." The policeman outside sneered. Returning to the stone bed, Zhou Zi curled up and sat on it. Finally, he could not help but cry in a low voice. Furthermore, the situation outside. After the City Public Security Bureau returned empty-handed that day, Yan Xintong, who thought that Situ Li was deliberately going against her, directly found her backer in the province. That was the deputy governor, who attempted to use that deputy governor's high-pressure means to force Situ Li to settle Zhou Zi's matter in a low-profile manner. Zhou Qiao also went back and forth for Zhou Zi's matter. First, he accompanied Yan Xintong to find that deputy governor. Then he found the best lawyer for Zhou Zi. Finally, he also wanted to use the high compensation from the boys' parents to ask them to give up on the charges against Zhou Zi. However, that deputy governor did give Situ Li pressure. Yan Xintong also patted Zhou Qiao's chest to make the promise that Zhou Zi would be released very soon. However, the boys' parents did not accept Zhou Qiao's compensation. If he hardened his heart, he must sue Zhou Zi. Just as Zhou Qiao wanted to use a forceful method to force the boys' parents to submit, the media suddenly exposed the matter. This time, it was like throwing a stone into the water, causing 1,000 waves. First, it was Galaxy Television, which was in the limelight in the country, and they actually unknowingly gathered very detailed information. They had even found the boys' parents and a few people who had witnessed the accident. Through The Cold Life, this newly released interview documentation program, the whole story had been exposed to the entire country's audience. In the past year, Galaxy Television had made a name for itself in the domestic television industry by relying on a high-quality and popular television series, as well as a rigorous and realistic news program. In particular, there were a few programs that were critical to the current situation, discussing all kinds of practical problems in society, allowing Galaxy Television to win its reputation and fame. The new Cold Life was one of them. First tier. Cold Warmth Life was a program that paid attention to the fate of ordinary people. It was actually designed by Zhou Hao based on the original program he saw on Phoenix TV in his previous life. As for the original host of Cold Warmth Life, Chen Xiaonan, she had not joined Phoenix TV yet and was currently hosting a financial program in Shanghai. However, Galaxy TV had already found her and was discussing the signing of the contract. It was estimated that Chen Xiaonan would join them at the end of the year. Many of the people interviewed by this program were people who had been treated unfairly by the government and had been wronged. However, unlike the original Cold Life of Phoenix Satellite TV, the Cold Life of Galaxy Satellite TV Network was now holding was not only from the perspective of the people, but also from the perspective of the local government and relevant departments to investigate the reason why the local government was doing this. Finally, an objective analysis of the beginning and end of the incident. This way, although it exposed the corruption and insider information of many grassroots departments, it was also discovered in some of the incidents. The government did not intend to harm the interests of the people. Instead, it was due to the imperfections of the system and various factors that caused it to be forced to do so. Therefore, although Cold Warmth Life had offended many people because it exposed the dark side of many societies, it also received the support of the audience and affirmation from the central government due to its objective analysis and facts. In addition, Galaxy Satellite TV was very powerful in the government, so those people who hated Galaxy Satellite TV did not dare to make any trouble. Currently, Galaxy Satellite TV was considered to be speaking for the people. On the other hand, it also helped the government understand the wishes of the people and allowed the government and the people to interact and coordinate with each other. It had a very high position in the domestic television and media industry. It was faintly showing signs of surpassing Phoenix Television, the #1 private television station in the country. The attention of the entire nation's audience on Galaxy Television had caused Zhou Zi's incident to cause a huge stir throughout the country. Especially on the day of the incident, the scene of that boy's mother in front of her son's corpse was captured by a DV enthusiast in the crowd. After the recording of the DV was broadcasted, the grief and indignation of the mother caused the audience to be moved. They hated Zhou Zi even more. Cold Warmth Life conducted an interview with the boys' parents, allowing the audience to see the devastating blow that this tragedy dealt to their family. At the same time, Lungwan Life also interviewed people from the Xiang City government. When the audience found out that the Xiang City Public Security Bureau had investigated the incident seriously and arrested Zhou Zi, who was involved in the case, they were full of praise for the actions of the Xiang City Public Security Bureau. However, the person who was unwilling to reveal his name, Lung Wanlife, who had done a special treatment for him in the mirror, told the program team. As Zhou Zi's grandfather, Zhou Qiao, was a Hong Kong businessman who had come to invest, there were people from the higher government who wanted to deal with this matter in a low-profile manner to avoid affecting Zhou Qiao's investment intention. Thus, the Xi'an City Public Security Bureau was under a lot of pressure, and the investigation of the case was delayed by a lot. Although the relevant personnel of the government didn't specify who was exerting pressure on the Public Security Bureau, this had already caused a violent reaction from many people and people who were paying attention to this matter. Moreover, Cold Life also raised a question at the end of the program, which was how the government would choose between foreign investment and the interests of the local people through this period of time, which was more important in economic construction and legal construction. Also, whether or not they should sacrifice the interests of the people in order to attract investors. Zhou Zi's matter reflected not only the attitude of the local government toward Hong Kong merchants. It also included foreign businessmen with different nationalities, such as the Japanese, the Americans, the UK, and the Koreans who came to China to invest. Because many governments wanted to get investments, their attitude towards foreign businessmen was obviously higher than that of their own people. Because of this, Galaxy Satellite TV brought up a big topic that caused thousands of waves in the country. There were 6 or 7 men in military uniforms gathered together, and there were a few bottles of special Maodai on the table, along with some peanuts, potato strips, and other seasoning. There were also a few empty bottles on the floor. These men were all in their 40s, and their laughter was so cheerful that it made people's hearts tremble. Looking at the ranks on their epaulets, all of them were generals, with the highest rank among the 2 lieutenants. One of them was Zhao Dingzhou, and the other was a man of similar age to him. The few of them were also watching the television in the room. The program on the television was Cold Life from Galaxy Television. Old Zhao, this Galaxy Television is really not bad. One of them was in his 50s. The man with the rank of Major General smiled and said, I've seen their Brilliant Sword and Kangxi Dynasty. They are both excellent works that are rarely seen in recent years. Especially the spirit inside. It suits the appetite of soldiers like us. I heard that they are about to start filming The Sky of History, which is also a topic of Revolutionary War. I'm looking forward to it. Who says so? Another Major General smiled and said, in the past, I didn't really watch TV, but they didn't show the sword in the sky. They made me chase after them back then. I heard that the National Defense University now has a special topic to study. It's called Brilliant Sword Spirit. It can be seen how deep the influence of this television series is. Zhao Dingzhou replied with a smile. Hee, this Spirit of the Brilliant Sword should be the most outstanding TV series in our country in recent years. The reason for its success is not only because of the plot, but also because of its attractiveness. That Li Yunlong's creation is also very crucial. He has broken away from the limitation of those war drama characters in the past, saying that he is a martyr hero, but he is also full of the aura of a bandit. He is so biased and has flesh and blood that it is very hard for people to hate him. Old Zhao, since when did you have so much knowledge about dramas? The man who was also a lieutenant general smiled and said, Oh, I almost forgot. The big boss of Galaxy Television is your younger brother, Zhou Hao. I've already said it, Elder Zhao. After the filming of Sky of History, I want to be the first to watch it. Keep the tape for me. The others also made the same request. The lieutenant general said, Elder Zhao, your brother is amazing. Now, the influence of Galaxy Satellite TV in the country had already surpassed Phoenix Satellite TV. Not to mention the local television stations, the television dramas and programs they produce can't even be compared to Central TV. A sense of pride appeared between Zhao Dingzhou's brows as he said with a proud smile, This kid is quite promising. Brother Song, you should know that our old man rarely praises people. He loved Xiao Hao very much, and he didn't hesitate to praise Xiao Hao in front of the Prime Minister and the others, which made me jealous. That's right. This was the Brother Song, who was a lieutenant general. He was the political commissar of the Guangzhou military district, Song Chaohan. He smiled and said, When I was a soldier under the old man, I didn't know how many times he scolded us. He never praised us. Lu Zhenwu also praised your brother. Now I really want to see him. The table was talking about Zhou Hao happily. Song Chaohan pointed at the Cold Life broadcast on TV. He asked Zhao Dingzhou, Old Zhao, do you think Zhou Hao did this on purpose to target foreign businesses? I heard that this Zhou Qiao went to Xi'an City to invest, and Zhou Hao is from Xi'an City. Could it be that Zhou Qiao offended him and caused this? Xiao Hao didn't tell me about this. Zhao Dingzhou threw a peanut into his mouth, but Yuqin knows a little about it. She said that Zhou Qiyao was Xiao Hao's grandfather's younger brother, Xiao Hao's granduncle. However, this time, Xiao Hao has eliminated his relationship with justice. Haha, great. He already knows how to help his grandfather at such a young age. Song Chaohan said with a smile. Besides, I don't like the attitude of those local governments towards foreign businessmen. In order to attract investments, they are willing to bow down to them. They are almost treating those foreign businessmen as their parents. According to what I said, our China's market is so important to the world's economy. Our market is what those foreign merchants need, so we should take the initiative. The others also deeply agreed. This was because most of the domestic military enterprises were run by the country. A small portion of them cooperated with others, but most of them were directly achieved